built around 300 years ago, Blenheim Palace, the most extraordinary place in the heart of Oxfordshire, in the heart of England, and with an extraordinary history. Winston Churchill was born here, and the aesthetically astounding grounds were designed by none other than Capability Brown. And as the seats of the Dukes of Marlborough, this is a suitably magisterial setting for the final leg of the Event Rider Masters 2017.
Welcome to the Event Rider Masters 2017. Now in its second year, this is the ultimate eventing series, spanning 7 events in 7 iconic locations across Britain and Europe. The final leg of the Event Rider Masters will play out at the spectacular Blenheim Palace in Oxfordshire. The scene is perfectly set to crown the series winner here at the Blenheim Palace International Horse Trials, in what promises to be a fantastic finale to the 2017 season. Competition for the final places will be fierce, as 40 of the world's very best international horses and riders from 10 different countries will battle for glory in a last-ditch attempt for a podium spot and precious series points. This stellar field of eventing superstars and Olympic heroes will be showcasing the finest in equestrianism and tested to their limits across the 3 classic eventing disciplines. From the style and grace of dressage, to the precision and accuracy of show jumping, to the power and adrenaline of cross-country, in their quest for eventing's ultimate prize. This is the Event Rider Masters.
Welcome back to Blenheim Palace. This incredible location is the perfect setting for the 2017 series finale. Arguably one of the strongest fields we've ever seen in Event Rider Masters history actually made the lineup yesterday. 5 of the world's top 10, 6 former leg winners. It was always going to be an incredible finale, and so far it has not been a disappointment. Yesterday started with the dressage. Today, it is all about the jumping phases. This morning, it was the coloured poles, the show jumping. Dye-Body's track did shuffle the leaderboard, perhaps not as much as we expected, but it certainly did. And the scene is set for this afternoon's cross-country phase. We won't know the winner of the series finale until the last horse crosses the line. We might not even know the series podium until Shane Rose, currently second on the leaderboard, crosses the line as well. So it promises to be an exciting afternoon. Settle in, put the kettle on, and we hope that you'll enjoy it as much as we do. But it's not just us here in the studio. John T. Evans and Derm Byrne are with us as well. Let's go and say a very good afternoon to Alice Plunkett. Hi, Alice.
Nicole, I'm sort of doing a jig. I can't really believe that we've got to this stage in the series where we're at the last phase of the last leg of 2017. It's been such an amazing roller coaster ride, and these athletes have provided such wonderful sport, and there's no doubt that it's not going to disappoint in this last leg, because as you said, we will not know who the champion of Blenheim is until that last horse crosses the line. The horses are just warming up behind me. Tom McEwen, he goes early, so does Blythe Tate, and Janelle Price. This is a huge test for her. Classic Moek just cantering around behind us. This is her first big cross-country round since she's had her baby. So they're all getting ready. It's counting down.
Well, the tension is building. We can't wait to see how all of the action unfolds. But let's remind ourselves of how the 6 previous legs unfolded themselves. We are going to have our first female winner, and it is going to be
Gemma,
10 seconds.
Gemma Tattersall. What a round, what a lady, what a horse.
Sarah Cohen is on the podium. She is celebrating. This is a huge shock, and this is against all the numbers. Sarah Cohen has won. He's already won it once. Can he win it again?
The clock is about to turn red. Thomas Carlyle tops the podium for the second time in his career. And he is going to do it. It's nip and tuck. But Mickey Young, the first German winner of an Event Rider Masters, she is going to go into the lead. She will go to the top of the podium. Gemma Tattersall is going to take leg 5 of the Event Rider Masters series with Arctic Soul. But it is going to be an Australian winner for the first time here at Blair Castle in leg 6 of the Event Rider Masters. Shane Rose is taking the title. Well, the series was decided, the series will be decided today, but so will the leg, and it got underway yesterday with the dressage. Let's take a look.
Leg 7 of the Event Rider Masters 2017 kicked off in full view of the spectacular Blenheim Palace with the dressage. 39 of the world's best horses and riders looked to impress at the season finale.
He's quite hot in the dressage, and he's really shown that this year, and it's really about time Don and I pulled our finger out and got up there a bit more. And for us, Blenheim is that last opportunity with the ERMs.
Oh, of course, we always like winning, don't we? But to be honest, we're delighted to be here. It's a great venue, it's a wonderful thing, and ERM for me is very exciting.
And the judges were impressed with what they saw. 8 horse and rider combinations were awarded sub-40 scores, 2 more than Equi-Rating Statistics predicted at the start of the day. Alex Huachan and Don Gennaro of China finally found their form in the Masters for 2017, the duo clocking up a 36.9 to secure 3rd after dressage.
What a result for this young man, because he has worked so hard with this horse.
Fresh off the back of his leg 6 win in Scotland at Blair Castle, Australian rider Shane Rose did his podium chances here no harm, with a 35.8 on CP qualified and 2nd place overnight.
This is looking very likely to be our new leader. Shane Rose, he comes here from the win at Blair Castle just a few weeks ago. He is on exceptional form.
But it was British rider Izzy Taylor and Be Touchable who stole the show on day 1. The combination's exceptional test earning them a personal best of 35.7, and with it, the live lead going into show jumping.
Yeah, he was fantastic. He's a very exciting horse. He's always had the potential to a fantastic test, and he was really good today.
Well, the dressage set the scene yesterday, and then this morning we turned our attentions to the coloured poles and the show jumping. Dye-Body was the course designer. We expected it to be tough. Let's take a look at the highlights. Well, one pole down, and that takes him to 47.6. He would stay ahead of Sarah Cohen, though. And she rattles it, but the planks stay. Clear round number 8 comes courtesy of Gemma Tattersall. But it's now starting to unravel slightly, Fred, and 3 fall in quick succession.
So now for Alex is very much to try to get some confidence and rhythm back in the horse.
What a clear round from Bill Levitt, Shannondale Titan. He's just got the final planks to go. He clears them and adds nothing to his dressage score, 38.3. The final planks, he clears them, and that piles the pressure on. Izzy Taylor will be on top of the podium going forward to this afternoon's cross country, 35.7. Guys, well, let's take a look at the leaderboard after the first 2 phases. Izzy Taylor out in front with Be Touchable, but does not have a single second in the cross country, ahead of 2nd place Shane Rose and CP qualified. Oliver Townend on the podium a couple of times already this season, one to keep an eye on. That pole down in the show jumping for Sir Mark Todd Kiltubrid Rhapsody could actually really harm his series chances. We'll come on to that a little bit later on. He'll be looking for a big climb up into the top 10. Alex Huachan, Don Gennaro, 3rd after dressage after that brilliant test. Unfortunately didn't have the round he would have wanted in the show jumping, and he went forward away from that on 51.4. Tom McEwen strikes smartly, another combination that just rolled the 1 pole. And a little bit further down the order, RF West Indy not having the easiest of rounds with Millie Dumas, and unfortunately they come forward on 61.8 to the cross country. But the series is going to be decided here at the series finale this weekend. Gemma Tattersall, well, she cannot be beaten. She has the 2017 title in the bag. Sarah Cohen, well, with Mark Todd currently a little bit further down the order, she cannot improve On her 93 points, she has actually withdrawn. We'll come on to that in a few moments, but she will secure second place. Shane Rose, he's looking to come onto the series podium this weekend. And I have to say, Derm, we're not going to know who is going to go onto that series podium. The top two are pretty much decided, but third place, wide open. And until Shane Rose goes, we're not going to know.
Yes, and of course, as you say, it's reverse order, and he's sitting second, so we're not going to know until the second last horse. Don't forget as well, Oliver Townend is right there behind him. They're both going to be on course at the same time. Two of the fiercest competitors are going to be hunting down third place at the exact same time, and that's not even counting Mark Todd. It is absolutely all to play for. Hugely exciting finish in store.
Well, we can't wait to see how it does finish. But one of the exciting things about the Event Rider Masters is our partnership with technology giants SAP.
I'm Henrike Pates. I'm heading the Equestrian Sponsorship Program at SAP. The partnership we have as official technology sponsor of Event Rider Masters is a co-innovation partnership. ERM and SAP will work together on finding challenges and solutions which we can solve with technology for the future of the sport. Spectator judging literally puts fans in the judge's seat. It allows them to co-score all of the riders live, compare their results in the app, and even see the results on the big screens afterwards. The cross-country phase poses a particular challenge for the fans because the riders are out in the field and the fans cannot follow all of the time, so they miss information. So what we do as SAP is we are putting sensors on the riders to bring that data live for the fans to now have all the information at hand. They have an app where they can join the riders in the saddle and have a cockpit view of all the data. We are actually really excited about our relationship with Event Rider Masters. It's a true co-innovation partnership which already brought about a lot of exciting formats for the fans, and we are looking forward to what comes next.
Well, David Evans is the man in charge of designing the cross-country course. We'll hear from him with Alice in just a couple of minutes. But in a moment, let's take a look at what is in store for all of our competitors this afternoon.
The Event Rider Masters cross-country course at the Blenheim Palace International is set as David Evans takes over all of the design duties for the first time. 6 minutes and 44 will be the optimum time over this 3,838-metre track. The first big question is the flyer at 5, a test of bravery before the dew pond coming in at the 2-minute marker. After that, it's the SAP Palace View rails at 7. Across the far side of the river, it is the St James's Place flower table on 4 strides to the Event Rider Masters brush shoulders on an internal 2-stride distance, 12 and 13 AB. Crossing back over the ornamental lake, it's over the Event Rider Masters duck, and then this big question, the St James's Place turning Oxer at 17 A, B and C. The straight route is Oxer on a left-hand bending line to another Oxer, continuing the left-hand bending line up, then to a corner, inviting the glance off to the right. They push then for the 5-minute marker and come close to home to jump the SAP Squirrel Brush Box. Again, a right-hand curving question here before they take on the final fence. In the shadow of Vanborough's masterpiece, it's going to take a masterpiece of cross-country riding to take the Event Rider Masters leg here at Blenheim Palace.
Welcome to the start of the cross-country, and I'm joined by course designer David Evans. You've really beefed it up.
Yeah, learning after last year that we just needed to intensify it a little bit more. We just beefed it up a little bit in places.
There's a real championship feel, and it looks like they've got to keep their focus right till the end.
Absolutely, keep them thinking from the beginning to the end, and that combination at the end, I think, just keep them on the toes.
How tight's the time?
Fairly.
Fairly, that means very. Listen, it's not long till our first horse comes forward. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Well, just a moment until we get underway, but let's take a look at the running order, the reverse order cross country, so we won't know the winner until the last horse, Izzy Taylor, crosses the line this afternoon. Derm, the Equi-Ratings ones to watch.
Well, the one to watch from the very top is going to be, well, Classic Moe. I mean, we're getting started with the fastest rider in the world. The fastest horse in the world, I should say. Classic Moe, that was the fastest horse at the World Games a couple of years ago. Keep an eye on them, strike smartly. 2 wins from 2 completions with Tom McEwen, building a very impressive record of a long way to come today. Zagreb is one I will be looking at here. Zagreb's a very interesting horse. Alex Bragg with a huge amount of confidence. Keep an eye on him. Cooley Lord Lux, he was a winner up in Blair in the other 3-star class. Matt Heath, a massively strong cross-country rider. They'll certainly be ones to keep an eye on in terms of the jumping. Sir Mark Todd brings us into this third grouping. What gets interesting here is he's going to have to go for it in terms of the series. He has to come back. Shane Rose has stolen the advantage of him. Laura Collett Grand Manoeuvre, they jump big, they're very reliable in this phase, but will they be quick enough? Pippa Funnels in there as well at Chippy. Finally again here, Shannondale Titan is this weekend going to be when Bill Levitt, a real favourite in ERM, puts it all together. Will Liz Halliday pick up too many time penalties, or can she do it? Cooley Masterclass, 2 podiums. I would think Oliver Townend is going to get here, CP qualified and be touchable. Who will come out victorious between those two? I suggest Izzy is going to last.
Well, the first horse will be Janelle Price and Classic Moe heading out on course. We can just see her there making her way over to the start box, where she'll be counted down by our start team. In the studio with me, Derm Byrne from Equi Ratings, but also Irish international event rider John T. Evans. John T., thank you very much for joining us. What are your thoughts on the course?
It's a fantastic course. The ground is perfect. The sun's come out. There's been a breeze, and I think you're going to see some really fantastic cross-country riding. The ERM series is so exciting, and to have 2 girls already topping the series and then 2 boys fighting out for getting the 3rd spot on the podium is fantastic.
Well, we have the opportunity for a bit of rider cam. So this is what Janelle Price is seeing now. She's just circling round down at the start. It's brilliant to see the rider's perspective as well, and that's something that our technology partners SAP bring in. Now, John T., as a rider yourself, what would be going through Janelle's mind at this very moment?
That's a great question, Nicole. I should think that she's thinking about what she wants to do at the major combinations, how it's going to go. She'll be keen to settle Classic Moe into a good rhythm. Of course, Janelle giving birth to baby Otis just 2 weeks ago. An amazing feat to come and ride here, but there's probably no better lady to do it.
And she's been away from the international scene for a year now, but will that deter her at all?
No, not in the slightest. I mean, she may not go flat to the boards today. She's probably lower down the order, but it won't deter her in the slightest.
Well, on board with our pathfinders in the series finale of the Event Rider Masters here at Blenheim Palace International Horse Trials, Janelle Price and Classic Moe coming out on course on 54.3, and a couple of really nice inviting fences to get them underway. The Barras Cub Cadet Olympic table at 2, and it's a really good opportunity, Jonty, for riders to just get into their rhythm, get moving forwards before the big questions come, and they do come.
The first 3 fences definitely give you the chance to get into that rhythm. And then the questions start coming without a doubt. You want to settle horses, have them forward and confident.
I mean, I know Janelle is, as you say, John T., she's a little bit further down the order today. It's her first international of 2017. She's not long back, so you're right in that she's not going to be pushing too much. This is just a little bit of a window opener. They're coming back, but what I would say is that this horse, Classic Moe, covers ground so naturally fast that it will give us a very good indication of the time, even if Janelle isn't pushing as hard as she could. Keep an eye on how quickly they're able to cover the stretches. And Blenheim is a course, John T will talk us through it more, that does have those stretches that you can make up time.
And this is the first real question, the Biffa Complex log table and skinny, and that skinny at the B element is very narrow in front.
It is narrow, but I mean, horses with this kind of experience should find that for you. And I know that Janelle's got Poe on her radar at the end of the season, so she'll be looking for a really good confidence building round here.
And Janelle was actually on the series podium last year. She finished second in the series in 2016. Tim looking to make it on the podium this year as well. But this is the first opportunity for riders to get their feet wet.
They hope that they won't get their feet wet.
Horses get their feet wet.
Horses are going to get their feet wet. It is, and it's actually a good opportunity because it's a relatively kind fence. They've got to jump that log on the top of, the rail on the top of the mound, and now she's away down into the woods.
So Janelle Price, our pathfinder with Classic Moe here, 47.3 her dressage, 1 pole and 3 time penalties from the show jumping, and she'll come back into view coming to the Rowan Barbary Brush and Cotswold Wall. And it's a deceiving use of the ground here at Blenheim there, because it really does slope away.
It does slope away. You see she's got 7 forward strides down that distance. Riders won't be concentrating too much on the stride pattern, but coming forward always takes less time than adding a stride.
So Janelle Price and Classic Moe coming to the crossing brush, the water, and this is a really tough question set by David Evans. Talk us through it, Jonty.
Well, you've got the 2 hedges here, and then she's got 2 quite long strides, but quite a lot of horses have done what hers did and just added the 3rd one. As long as the rider's in balance, prepares the horse properly, then it doesn't matter if it's the 2 or the 3.
And then she just jumps those very upright white gates on the exit to the water.
It is an upright white gate, definitely. My horse earlier today rattled that. And
they've got to be respected, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. Not very big either, which sometimes makes it harder.
So heading on up the hill to the St James's Place flower table at 12. An opportunity to let up on the accelerator slightly. And then this real question, the Event Rider Masters brushes. But she makes that look very straightforward.
Yeah, very easy. I mean, she's very accurate. Janelle's always accurate, but makes that lovely.
And then this question that comes up very quickly is the ditch, and then that curving left-handed line to the skinny brush, and I think it looks like she's just run past it.
Gone left. So she'll now have to turn back and jump the longer route.
We've seen a run out in a rider camp. I've seen what it looks like to run out for the first time.
I hope I was going to say, I hope there's no audio on Janelle's video right now.
I hope there is. But one really interesting thing for me here is we talked all season. I think if we cast ourselves forward to this time next year, when we're looking at the season finale of Event Rider Masters 2018, I think this is the rider that we're going to see challenging Gemma really, really strongly. When we look at Gemma's string, the different horses she's been able to take to the different events, Janelle Price is probably the rider in the world that I'd say has the strongest string. You think about horses that Tim has ridden this year, Sekatinka, Ascona, you think about the Deputy, you think Classic Moe, Fairy Dianimo is going to be in there. The list is very long of the horses that Tim and Janelle have now got at building at 3 and 4 star level. Keep an eye on Janelle Price for Event Rider Masters 2018.
Well, away goes Tom McEwen. Tom with Fred and Penny Barker's Strike Smartly, a horse who's actually only completed 2 international events with Tom this year. A new ride for him in 2017, but they have won them both. They're not going to win today, but set out with a good starting score of 53.3. Janelle Price, though, comes to the St James's Place turning question Oxer. And these are some really big fences, Jonty, quite late on in the course.
Yeah, they are big fences. They haven't, although it's late on in the course, they haven't gone too far, so there shouldn't be too much about fatigue. But you've got to try and keep a smooth line through all of them, which you saw Janelle do there really beautifully.
So on board with our Pathfinder Janelle Price in Classic Moe, carrying the 20 penalties, which was, safe to say, a bit of a shock for the stats, Derm.
Yeah, look, it's not something that you would say regularly about Classic Moe at all, or Janelle Price, but of course it's worth reminding everybody Classic Moe hasn't been out in 2017 at any international, and this is Janelle's first time back as well. I think today, as we've said all along, this is not the Classic Moe or the Janelle that you can expect to see early next year. Back to Tom McEwen and Strike Smartly. This is a brother of Kilronan, and might I remind you, this is a horse that will have a lot of natural speed but hasn't yet made the time at CIC 3-star level. He's jumped clear at all 3 of the CIC 3 stars that he has been in the cross country for. I expect this is one again who's building his profile. He's only 10 Strike Smartly, but definitely one to watch. 2 wins, as you say, Nicole, from their 2 completions.
Well, he's dot on the time, albeit at an early stage, as he comes clear of the Townfield Saddlery Flyer at 5. 3,838 metres in total this track, and that optimum time of 6 minutes and 44 seconds. So 0.4 of a penalty for every second any of our riders go over that time, and it can certainly prove very influential. But heading towards home, and this is the final question, the SAP Brush Corner. And it's a late question, Jonty, isn't it? For a rider pushing towards home, it would be easy to have a late 20 penalties.
Very easy, very easy. You've got to take your time coming in. You've got to organise yourself a little bit, and that is going to waste a few seconds as we get closer to the climax of the competition.
But Janelle Price about to make her international comeback complete as Tom McEwen and Strike Smartly head on to the Mojo Advantage rail at 9 at the top of the hill before the first of the lake crossings. Always a popular place for spectators here at Blenheim. And that jump there, riders really have to get their line right for these angled brushes.
Yeah, it set the log that you saw them jump at the top, saw Tom jump at the top, sets you up.
Can you tell if they've gone?
That was lovely. I mean, really nice. You know, Tom again stayed in lovely balance, kept the horse there in front of him, and the horse could make the choice.
And neatly clear of the gate away from the lake. So that really long pull on up the hill, and Tom's having to work pretty hard up there.
Yeah, he's just reminding the horse to keep on moving up that hill there, and you know, possibly the horse had jumped through the lake and thought, oh, I did that rather well, and having a breather, but he's moving on now.
They were clear inside the time last time out. That was a CCI 3-star at Campfire. They did go on to win with a really good show jumping round to finish. We're at CIC 3-star format today. It's the shorter format of the sport. It's a different question, Jonty.
Yeah, it is. It's quicker. It almost comes at you quicker. And actually, you saw Tom there on the 4 and the 2 at the previous question.
And another to have a run out. So 2 combinations have been on course so far here in the series finale, and they have both run past the left-handed brush.
That's interesting because I think earlier in the day in the previous class that they were possibly running to the right. But like you say, both have run to the left.
Overcompensating, perhaps?
Maybe. There's some little trees on the left-hand side there that you would imagine help you a little bit, but they clearly haven't done there.
And you can very easily see that Tom's very much taken his foot up off the accelerator after that problem on course.
Strike Smartly has not picked up 20 penalties in 2017. He has now. He's never picked up 20 penalties in a CIC 3-star. He has now. He's been here before. He was clear that time. He's picked up 20 penalties today. It's a moment, but it's still only a 10-year-old, so Strike Smartly still on a journey with Tom, but today's another learning day for them now. They're not going to be challenging with that 20 penalties in play.
So Tom McEwen and Strike Smartly crossing back across the lake. And as a rider, Jonty, how much of a disappointment is it? Because you've had your 20 penalties. I shouldn't ask you this because you had 20 penalties out on course earlier.
I did. I can tell you right from the heart, Nicole, what it's like. It is rubbish. and
that
you
was the polite version.
Yes, you do have to pick yourself up and get on with it.
And ultimately, you still have some very big obstacles to jump to get home safely. You've got to surely put that out of your mind.
You have, and it's important that you know, if you've had a 20, you've had a little issue, you want to put the confidence back in the horse. You want to make sure that you finish with a bit of belief, and so does the horse. So it's important. The last few fences are very important.
Well, just an update on a couple of withdrawals for you. Sarah Cohen and Treason, they would have needed to be 6th or better here to improve their series point score, and after their 2 poles down, actually decided to withdraw, as did Hannah Subernet, Harbour Pilot, Millie Dumas and RF West Indy, and also Sam Watson and Arda Highlight. None of those 4 combinations will be presenting to the cross country. But next to go, it is our sole French representative here at the series finale, and it is Sydney Dufresne and Swing de Perdrier. 54.7 their dressage, just 2 time faults from the show jumping, so in 29th position coming forward to the cross country. 56.9 their total score. And actually, 12 months ago, it was a Frenchman who won here at the series finale, Thomas Carlyle, and Tom had worked pretty hard through.
It's interesting. We didn't quite see from the shot whether he'd come inside or outside. I think he was on the outside line, and it is a little bit open, but you'd expect horses at this point to have picked that up a bit more.
So Tom McEwen heading towards home, carrying those 20 penalties, remember. They were picked up at the Shires Equestrian Woodard Hollow up at 14C, and already over the time, but we would expect that after those problems. So we're still waiting for our first clear round here. The reverse order cross country means that Izzy Taylor, our 2-phase leader, will be the last to go out on course.
This finish reminds me of Blair, Nicole, that coming to the end where you really have to concentrate on those angled hedges. At Blair, you know, that's where we saw Bettina Hoy run out of Blair. It was very late in the day. It's where Shane Rose and Izzy will have been sitting this time around. I think it's going to be very interesting.
A note for me, only 35 seconds over the time, Jonty, with those 20 penalties and having eased up.
It's hard to say because, as Dean mentioned, the horse was inside the time at its last CCI 3-star run. It's obviously got some pace. You would have imagined he'd have taken his foot off the gas. The time could be doable.
But he wasn't making the time in CIC 3-star, so I mean, the horse has recently changed, so he hasn't had that many runs with Tom, so it's still difficult to get a read on that. But look, Blenheim is a place where you can get the time. We don't associate Blenheim with some of the difficult time tracks, so it wouldn't surprise me if we see people making the time, but the technicality of the jumping looks like it's going to be a challenge today.
And when you're chasing the clock, mistakes can happen.
And you did see Tom's horse just have a little slip between the last two elements of that penultimate combination.
So Sydney Dufresne and Swing de Perdrier coming away from the first water, the Ariat Dupont, to the SAP Palace View rails. Most incredible backdrop of Blenheim Palace here. It really has been the perfect setting for the 2017 series finale. Blythe Tate there, waiting down at the start with Dasset Courage. Blythe, hugely experienced, just making his final preparations. Just over 4 minutes left on the clock for Sydney Dufresne and Swing de Perdrier. We'll do a clock check for him going through the lake.
Swing de Perdrier and Sydney Dufresne.
We're still waiting for not only our first clear round, but looking for a good indication as to how achievable that 6 minute and 44 second optimum time is going to be.
So next to go will be
Nicole, we wouldn't have expected any jumping penalties from Classic Moe. We wouldn't have expected any jumping penalties from Strike Smartly. But this is a different horse. We've seen Sydney ride in Trésor Mail, and it was a very fast and very clear round. That was at Barbary, but Swing de Perdrier, an 11-year-old mare, she has a checkered cross-country past in recent times. There's 20s, there's 40s, there's a retirement cross-country. They're all at different recent runs. This is a challenge. If this goes clear, it'll be a big result for Sydney.
And actually, Sydney just 15 seconds down on the clock as he jumped into the lake for the first time.
And what makes that interesting, Nicole, is there's lots of time penalties on the record. All different types of venues, but Samur, Warragam, Rainswood, Arville, there's plenty of time penalties.
Blythe Tate away with Dasset Courage, 50.3 his two-phase score, and in 21st position. And he looks like he's set out in a good, fast rhythm, Jonty.
Yeah, Blythe really looked like he'd set sail there, which is great. And to be honest, you know, if you think about it, the first three fences are the easiest.
Well, this is where we've had our problems in the past, but Sydney gets it and makes it look very straightforward, which it obviously isn't.
No, it isn't a straightforward fence. They don't always read it. Blythe's still travelling here as he comes to the Biffa Bins.
Just want to take a second to set up for that skinny element, and he does indeed. And this next fence is one that he can really take a flyer at. It is the Townfield Salary Flyer at 5. And I have to say, John T, I stood in the ditch that we don't really get a great shot of this fence, and it is enormous.
Yeah, you don't want to stand too close to the ditch. If you're of any kind of a nervous disposition, don't walk any closer than 10 yards.
I didn't have to jump it, so I was fine.
Worth noting that Dasset Courage is probably facing a lot of these challenges for the first time as well. This is only his second CIC 3-star, so he's going to be learning. He is 13, but he hasn't done a whole lot at this level. He was in the CCI 3-star at Ballindennis, but he did pick up 20 penalties that day. We have clear rounds at the level below at Mill Street and Bergam, but CIC 3-star, it's a challenge. Back to Sydney.
Sydney Dufresne, Swing de Perdrier. We'll get a clock check for him in just a second. 1 minute and 24 left on the clock as he jumped that second element. So he's down on the clock as Blythe Tate. He really is still accelerating, isn't he?
He is. He's still flying along.
He's still got it.
Yeah.
He's a double world champion.
He's always been a quick cross-country rider all the way through his career.
What might this mean for later in the course? I know we're at CIC, and for our new viewers, that would mean the shorter format. So we're going over just over 6 minutes here. But if a horse starts off this quickly, John T, does it play havoc later in the course, or do they get home?
No, definitely it can play havoc. I would expect them to get home at this point. Like we've said, this is a nice open track. Blythe's just using all his experience there to keep that horse together and make sure that the horse kept the confidence through the lake.
When we talk about Blythe's experience, he's a world champion, he's an Olympic champion. We're back with Sydney now as he comes closer to the end. Now we're back with Blythe.
Well, Sammy Croyd, a shot of him just going away from the start with Arco BB as Blythe Tate heads up away from the lake crossing with Dasset Courage. So 3 minutes and 20 left on the clock. Let's do a clock check for him. At the St James's Place table, he needed to be there with 3 minutes and 14 on the clock. So he is slightly down, but only 6 seconds or so.
Yeah, and you have a couple of just getting a little bit untidy there, and that what you said, Dim, earlier, that can be a result of having gone quicker at the beginning. You kind of lose your steering and your brakes a bit.
So coming to this tricky question. And unfortunately, just popping to the right-hand side of that brush, and Blythe just unfortunately able to stay with the horse. Looked like he got up on his feet behind the brush, and off indeed. He's off in search of Dasset Courage, but we've 4 combinations that have jumped that fence. Only 3 have had penalties, so 1 has jumped it clear. 75%, Derm. I can do the maths on that one.
Exactly, Nicole. You're dead right. But look, there's absolutely no doubt we found the influential course.
Sydney Dufresne completes our first clear round. 40 seconds over 16 time penalties, but our first clear round, so 72.7 for him.
Sorry, what I wanted to say, we found the influential fence on the course. Blythe Tate, we're looking at this again. Jonty, talk us through.
And you just see the horse doesn't really lock on. He jumps a bit right over the ditch. He's a little bit unbalanced, and Blythe just can't keep him there and out of the side door. I think he's not one of the bunnies over.
David Evans, the course designer, renowned for his incredible sculptures out on course, and Blythe inspecting them a little bit too closely. But Sam Equi-Trek away now with Arco BB. 53.5, 1 pole down in the show jumping for this combination. Actually a combination that won at Belton a little bit earlier on in the year. Sam, very experienced, came through Pony Junior Young Rider level over here, and has spent some time with the world #1 Michael Young, who actually won leg 4 of the series in Jardy, but also with Alex Martian and Billy Toomey, the Irish international show jumper as well. Catherine Coleman, 30 seconds or so before she gets underway for the United States of America with Back to Business.
We're going to see a shot of Arco BB and Sam Equi-Trek. Here they are. Sam is just 20 years of age, but he's going for his 20th clear cross-country round of 2017. He's an experienced rider, Arco BB. You'll remember him with Aoife Clark, your compatriot. They were eliminated at Barbary, Nicole. They had a rider fall at Barbary, but other than that, this is a horse who is 9 CIC 3-stars and has jumped clear, and 75% of them. They're strong in the cross-country phase, but they're going to be challenged, and we know the fence that's going to be one of the first big tests for them.
Without a doubt. I have to say, watching Sam here, he does a very good job of presenting the horse in front of the fence. He gives it clear instructions. I mean, that was beautifully ridden through that combination.
He committed to the 2 strides,
Totally committed, yeah.
And part of cross-country riding, is it about having a plan? And sometimes you have to be determined that that plan is going to come off.
You do. It's a really fine balance, because you have to be committed. You have to decide that your plan is the right one and it's going to work. But equally, you have to be willing to react when you need to.
So Sam Equi-Trek and Arco BB down on the clock already. But we'll find out just how down on the clock they are. 6 minutes and 44 seconds, remember. That is the time allowed out on course, and he's some 25 seconds down as he comes through the Event Rider Masters brush shoulders. Resituated this year, actually. They were the penultimate combination last year, but let's see him through the hollow. Nicely done.
Beautifully done. The fence before was beautifully done. That was beautifully done. He balanced the horse. He then committed it and rode it forward. Really nice.
Time penalty is going to be interesting to track for this bear, because it was speed, Nicole, at Barbary that probably led to them coming unstuck. But when they don't go fast and they do go clear jumping, you'll see the time penalties do crop up. We've seen them at the level below, at Bicton, at Flores Castle, at Houghton Hall in the Nations Cup. Keep an eye on the time penalties for that pair today. They'll give you a good read.
Catherine Coleman back to business, one of 3 Americans in the field, comes away from the start. So 13 to add for them from the show jumping. That left them in 31st position, 66.3 the 2-phase score for them coming forward. And this is a combination that have good 3-star form. They were actually 12th at Tattersalls a little bit earlier on this year, and have been top 10 at Barocca as well.
Catherine's a really strong CIC 3-star rider. It's a very particular format of the sport, but she's an 89% cross-country jumping clear rate. Back to Sam Equi-Trek. Jonty.
just see he's presented the horse beautifully again. 6 strides round the corner, head up, jumps it lovely. I mean, he's given this horse a peach of a ride.
And he certainly looks to have more in the tank as they're
Yeah.
coming home. Catherine Coleman back to business. They have a perfect record in 2017 at international level in this phase. Cross country, 6 from 6. CIC 3-star level back to business. A 10-year-old chestnut mare. They're 4 from 4 at this level. They will be expecting to jump clear. Again, their time penalties are much less than Arco BB. So try and keep a watch on those two on the course at the same time. Back to business, should jump clear, but will they make the time? I suggest they'll probably be closer than Sam Equi-Trek.
Arco BB, Sam Equi-Trek coming to the Charles Owen hat.
Interesting, this mare just carries her head up a little bit. You can see that the fur noseband across the front of her nose, that's designed there to try and get her to look down a little bit, keep her head lower.
Well, let's look at this line, Jonty, through the offset houses, because there's a couple of options that our riders can take.
Yeah, you can come. Sam took the inside line there, keeping the trees on the left-hand side, and then he got 3 strides across between the 2 little houses. You can come outside and then get 2 across on the left-hand side. He really looks like he's ridden to a plan, though. He looks like he knew exactly what he was going to do, and he's stuck to it.
Well, he's been here twice before in this class, and he's jumped clear on both occasions. Back to Catherine Coleman.
Jumps the Safari Champion's tax
Catherine Coleman, and back to business, well underway with their round. Coming forward on that score of 66.3, remember, in 31st position after the first 2 phases. As Sam Equi-Trek at the SAP final question. And then it will be just a case of getting towards home. So 38 seconds over on the clock at that timing marker. He doesn't look like he's really pushed for the time, though, I think, Jonty.
No, he doesn't. I mean, he has done, like we've said, he's done a beautiful job of jumping the horse round, but clearly the time faults are an issue there.
So Sam Equi-Trek jumps a good clear round, 18 time penalties, finishes on 71.5. So he's home safely. As a little bit earlier on. So this is Catherine Coleman coming to the first late crossing.
Just would concern you the way this mare fights a little bit here.
And just running out the left-hand side. Was that a case of the line, Jonty?
It's difficult to know from this angle. Whoops.
So our latest starter, Felicity Collins, just amazing, rather slithering clear of the first water, but getting away with it. And we saw actually in the show jumping, Jonty, this horse just went a little bit green on Felicity, and she really had to nurse her round. So it'll be interesting to follow their round as it progresses, but Catherine Coleman carrying those 20 penalties from the late crossing up the hollow. See her through the trees, and she gets it at the first time.
Jumps the problem fence.
She gets it at the first time of asking. So
that makes the earlier problem even more frustrating. Felicity's horse just running itself into the fence a little bit. You can see it's keen to go, just running
Felicity
into
Collins,
the fence.
just amazing, popping out over the Rowan Barbary, double brush to wall.
So clear of the Rowan Barbary double brush combination. Swinging right-handed now down the hill to the first late crossing. And you can almost just see the horse is a little bit inexperienced, and Felicity's just having to ride very sensibly.
Yeah, definitely. A little bit green there. Felicity really tries to ride forward.
And you couldn't help but feel that.
Yeah, it wasn't quite going right on the way in, but now she's got to regroup. She's got to deal with it, get the horse jumped in, possibly take the longer route out.
So she can jump into the water, can't she? And she does so, and she's actually gone the direct route and run past it. So she would have 20 penalties for the first refusal, 40 penalties for the second refusal at the same fence, and then she'll come round and do the black flag alternative. But Catherine Coleman, and back to business, heading towards home, carrying those 20 penalties from where Felicity had hers, actually. And good to see that she's now back underway after those problems.
So
can you go away from after you've jumped the B element into the water, Jonty, can you turn left-handed immediately?
Yeah, she could have turned left and jumped the very much longer alternative, the other arrowhead out. So, you know, you might argue she should have done that first time rather than trying the direct route again. She may have had her reasons.
So Alex Fatien, Don Gennaro away on course. They did such a good test yesterday, 36.4. actually my highlight from the dressage, but unfortunately things didn't go to plan today in the show jumping. 3 down and 3 time penalties, so that takes them out of contention. But 51.4, still a competitive enough score, and in 22nd position.
A very competitive score, Nicole, when you think about the cross-country faults that we're seeing. I'll cast your mind back. It was a moment that broke, I know, your heart. 20 penalties coming into the arena in Wiesbaden. It was an exciting moment in the Event Rider Masters, but it was very, very unexpected. The key thing for Don Gennaro this season has been getting himself back on track. We've seen tests that haven't been perfect. We've seen show jumping rounds like today, this morning, that haven't been perfect. He will want and he will expect a perfect cross-country round. He may or may not make the time. But he stays on. Good man. He stays on. That was nearly a moment there. It would be very, very surprising to see him come off. That would have been a great commentator's curse. Thank God. Don Gennaro is still intact, but that was a moment, Jonty.
That really was a moment, and looking back through it now, the horse is gaining ground through the water. He's gaining up the hill, and he just gets too close, and so close to shipping Alex off the side.
I mean, I have to say, hats off to Alex, because he's a tall chap.
He is tall.
And you would have thought gravity would have taken over.
He is tall, and it still looks like he's struggling to anchor Don Gennaro a little bit. I was going to say, as he came to that first water, the horse looks fantastic. It looks full of running and power. Sometimes that can be tricky.
I actually saw that horse in Jardy jump through a water beautifully and then spook on the way out at just a little bit of branding on the side of the course. He's a bit of a character, but next away will be Marcio George, Coronel MCJ. Alex coming to the first lake crossing, where we've seen a couple of people have problems.
So going into
beautifully done.
That's just beautiful. You see, that's where his forward momentum, the horse's enthusiasm really pays off, and the horse just took him down the line.
I think we've seen one of the saves of the series, one of the moments of Event Rider Masters. 27-year-old Alex Watien. This is his 10th international of the season, but that was an unbelievable way to stay on. If Don Gennaro gets home and gets any kind of result here, it will almost certainly all be thanks to the rider.
Well, Alex actually not a million miles off the clock as he comes to the St James's Place table. Takes that very well. He's around 9 seconds down on the clock, but hasn't looked like he's been going really pushing for it.
Yeah, and absolutely lovely through that combination, and it's the kind of horse you ride. You've got an extra gear. Beautiful again through there. Alex sitting still, giving the horse time to read the question.
As away goes Marcio George for Brazil, Coronel MCJ. Marcio actually one of the combinations who could have challenged for a place on the series podium coming into the series finale, but a little bit off the pace after the first 2 phases, so has a bit of an uphill battle. 53.2 after the dressage and show jumping, but this still a horse who is normally very good across the country.
Very good, very fast. Look, we would have put Marcio, if we talked, Nicole, a couple of legs ago, we would have thought Marcio was going to be making a really big play on the series. Unfortunately, he was eliminated in the dressage at Barbary, unheard of. He was eliminated at Blair in the cross country. Very, very unlike Marcio. We're looking at him here again. This is one of the fastest horses, ladies and gentlemen, that you're going to see all afternoon. He's Brazilian, he's a thoroughbred, and they made the time at Chatsworth, Jonty, as you know, and not an easy place to be inside the time.
Not an easy place. I mean, probably what makes this horse so fast is he doesn't argue too much with the rider.
So Alex Watien, Don Gennaro, he has made it look very straightforward, hasn't he?
He has, other than his little moment at the Squirrels early on at the Dupont, but he has made it look very easy. And it just is, it's a testament to that extra gear that Don Gennaro really has.
He has the extra gear, but sometimes the setups mean that we do incur time penalties. This is a horse, this horse on screen now is the fastest that we've seen so far. Classic Moe aside. But this guy has something to go for, and this is going to give us a really, really good read on what happens with the time.
Well, news just in that actually Felicity Collins retiring out on course after those couple of refusals going into the lake. But Marcio George and Coronel MCJ heading on down the hill to the lake. And What is it about this question, Jonty, that makes it so tough?
Well, you come back, you come away to the left, then you go back to the right, then you have to commit to the straight line. Really good from Marcio. He looks determined today, doesn't he?
I have to say, I think that's my favourite camera shot of the day. What a brilliant shot here of Blenheim International Horse Trials as Marcio George crosses the lake for the first time in front of an enormous crowd here. Actually, it's a huge sight, and there's lots of people on site to enjoy all of the entertainment. As away goes our latest starter. This is Catherine Robinson for Canada with Let It Be. 51.4 their dressage, 1 pole and 1 time from the show jumping before they come forwards. As Marcio George, another to just put 3 strides in, Jonty.
Yeah, I think he looked like he knew what he was doing though. He's lost his stirrup, he's coming to the problem fence. Ooh. Get your stirrup back, Marcio.
Is he going to get his stirrup? No, he's going to go for it.
He's done it. And it comes back to cross-country riding is about making it happen, and Marcio made it happen.
That is not a fence that any of us would have expected someone to take on with no stirrups, but as you say, a natural in the irons or out of the irons.
Absolutely.
In this case.
Make it happen.
Well, brilliant to see Alex Ratian and Don Gennaro finishing with a clear round. We'll get an update on their time, but I don't think they're going to have quite challenged the 6 minutes and 44 optimum time. And in fact, round in just over 7 minutes. So I think we will see somebody make the time today. Dan, would you agree?
Oh, absolutely, no doubt about it, Nicole. Bet your house on it. You'll see a few of them make the time. Cooley Masterclass is coming. Be Touchable has added 1 second in 4 international runs. What a shot that is. What we're going to get an opportunity to see. You're going to come back to Catherine Coleman in a minute. Keep an eye on their speed. Here's Catherine Coleman now, Let It Be. Their last round was Mill Street, and that was the first day that in recent times that they really pushed the button on speed again. We had a chat with her last night. We asked her would she. She said she would. I think it's an interesting one. They have to push Let It Be.
Well, Marcio George has his stirrups back as he goes clear of that real question down at the bottom of the course. The St James's Place turning Oxer and corners.
So you can see he's got 1 minute and 25 to get home from here. He's not a mile away, is he?
He is around 35 seconds down. Right. We'll do an official clock check for him shortly, but he is down on the clock. So Catherine Robinson and Let It Be, 51.4, remember, their 2-phase score coming forward. They come away from the Rowan Barbary combination. So 8A and B onto the Mojo Advantage rail. And while this is still a separate fence, Jonty, it does set up your line to the water, doesn't it?
If it does nothing else, it slows you down a little bit, Nicole, and it makes you get that turn in that you've just seen Catherine ride. Now she rides
just coming
forward
through that St James's Place, we have some measurements on the course. At the C element, they should really
okay, little bit of a wriggly line there, but got the job done.
Doesn't always have to be pretty as long as it's effective.
Nobody remembers what it looks like.
So Catherine Robinson and Let It Be away from the lake. And they head on up to the St James's Place flower table. As we're with Paul Sims, Calidor, our latest combination, to join us out on course. Paul was really disappointed with this horse's dressage yesterday. Got very tense in the arena. 56.3 out of character for them, but 8 to add from the show jumping as well. So 64.3 their 2-phase score coming forward. But Catherine Robinson coming through the angled brushes. And as good as any that we've seen.
Very good, very good. This horse reminds me slightly of the Don De Niro horse that we've just seen go round. This horse obviously got an extra gear, but Catherine has to anchor him a bit.
She's a hugely experienced rider, and this as a combination, Jonty, you know the importance of a combination. It's not just a horse, it's not just a rider. Let It Be and Catherine have become such a great combination. We've seen them at Olympic level, we've seen them at Worlds, we've seen them at Pan Ams. They've travelled all around the world. They're really synonymous with the sport. If we can, there's a big result in there. We're just waiting for it to come out.
Definitely, and when you watched her jump through that combination, did it beautifully.
Well, Paul Sims and Calidor coming to the first combination on course. Marcio George has completed a few time penalties for him, and I think it's safe to say that's going to take him out of series contention because he won't be able to get those all-important series points. So
I'm striking a name through that list. That name. There's a strike going through the name, Nicole.
Okay, thank you, Tim. But the score to beat in terms of the leg at the moment, still very early days, but 15 seconds over the time, Alex Ratian, Don Gennaro. So they finish on 58.2 and would be the live podium leader as things stand. Paul Sims, Calidor coming to the first water. It's very clever use of the ground there by David Evans, isn't it, Jonty?
And what you say there, Nicole, is exactly why you saw Paul's horse just sort of falter in its rhythm there, because it's such clever use of the ground. Breaks up the rhythm, slows you down.
Calidor tends to be a very, very reliable horse at this level. You know, he's 9 CIC 3-star runs. In 8 of them he's jumped clear. On recent form, though, there have been a couple of cross-country jumping penalties that have crept in. Tattersalls 2016, I remember that was a very, very tough track. He did pick up 20 penalties at Gatcombe earlier this year. Has most recently followed up with a clear round up at Blair Castle, where we saw him, Nicole. But a horse you'd normally associate with very, very strong jumping can pick up some time penalties, would be the only thing. That's the one to watch for me.
Well, he's already down on the clock as things stand at the moment, but perhaps after the not the easiest first couple of phases, he doesn't look to be pressing too firmly on the accelerator.
Shows his experience there. I mean, Paul's such a classy rider, and he just made that look very, very straightforward.
The white gate coming out of the water really does need a respect, doesn't it?
I know, it's something and nothing. I mean, we all looked at it. It's painted bright white. You think they'll look at it, but it's actually quite small, and it's quite hard to get the horse to sort of, you know, respect it. You've just cantered the horse across the water, which probably puts them a bit on their head.
Do you jump it off dry land or from the water?
You do just, but the land now in front of it is very wet and churned up.
Well, heading towards home, Catherine Robinson, Let It Be. They're over the time, but not a million miles over. This has been a really good round from this combination. She's going to go to the top of the leaderboard. 4.8 time, 5.2 time I think it finished on. And that will see her go to the top of the podium as things stand.
Great result for that pair. She did exactly what she needed to do, and actually that's not bad time penalties for them. They're continuing to push on their speed, and I think once they get that right, we're home and hose with that pair.
As away goes one of the top young riders in the field, Alexander Hewell, with Chakiri Star for Onalisa Coward, 54.0. And this is a combination that produced a really good clear round in the show jumping, and Alex was absolutely delighted with it. Perhaps didn't necessarily expect it, but as good as any we've seen through there.
Really smooth through there, and you could just see Alex bring his body back, so the horse is then running up to the contact, and the horse really drew the rein through the combination. Really good.
Look, Chakiri Star can sometimes go under the radar a little bit, but he's jumped clear in all 3 of his internationals in 2017, in all of his CIC 3-stars, and he's been here before and jumped clear as well.
So Paul Sims crossing back across the lake. And coming to this turning corner question, he's 1 minute and 40 left on the clock there. That isn't going to be enough to see him get home. He's around 25 seconds down. Oh, there we go, 30 seconds down. So is there any opportunity for him to catch up any time at all there, Jonty?
No, he's too far down now in a late, at a later point in the course to make the time. And, with all due respect to Calidor, he's possibly not the quickest horse in the world, so Paul would have needed to have set out with on a mission. Talking of on a mission, Alex Hewell coming flying around that corner there on Chakiri Star.
And Chakiri Star, what would be his speed across the country? Is he going to give us a close run to the optimum time?
He absolutely is going to give you a close run. He's probably one of the fastest that we've seen so far. We've seen 2 of the fastest horses in the world in Classic Moe and Marcio. But we'll come back to those time penalties. They're very, very few. But Calidor, Nicole.
Well, Paul Sims heading towards the end of his round. Brilliant view of Paul's line there, coming to those offset houses, and he's taking the outside route.
Yeah, I preferred that route actually when we looked at it, because it's 2 strides and it's 2 strides open, and it means you can just commit and keep coming forward.
So Paul Sims, Calidor, the clock is ticking down. It is still green at the moment, but he isn't going to make that optimum time. So he is going to pick up time penalties as well. Won't be able to challenge the leader as things stand. Catherine Robinson, Let It Be, 56.6. That is the score to beat at the moment. Still a very long way to go, though. The reverse order cross country means we're not going to know the winner until Izzy Taylor heads out on course a little bit later on this afternoon. Alex Hewell and Chakiri Star beautifully clear through there.
Yeah, really good. And you could see Alex didn't move his upper body. Paul just taking a bit of a liberty with that corner.
But he's okay to knock the flag as long as the head and shoulders have passed the correct side of it.
Absolutely. Head and shoulders between the flags, and otherwise you can be judged to have 50 penalties.
Well, some 26 seconds down on the clock. Now, the important thing for me there is he actually picked up 4 seconds from the combination at the bottom of the hill, which when we come to the later combinations could be very interesting. So Georgie Strang, Cooley Earl, 58.9 their starting score out on course. They're clear through the combination at 4.
You can see Georgie Strang there, just obviously doesn't quite feel that Cooley Earl's in front of her. She's just waving the whip around a little bit and seems to be getting good response. Cooley Earl taking the bit now and moving on towards Dupont. Again, Nicole, you could see there that the horse's rhythm got broken up, but Georgie dealing with it and carrying on. As we come to Alex Hewell.
Well, he's actually 29 seconds down on the clock. I'm a little surprised by that. I thought he might be a bit quicker.
It's so deceptive sometimes. We watched Andrew Nicholson earlier in the day just coasting round and coming inside the time in another class, and Chakiri's star there looks to be flying and yet obviously isn't quite covering the ground as much.
Georgie Strang and Cooley Earl in the meantime.
So Georgie Strang, a bit of a reminder for Cooley Earl, but clear of the Rowan Barbary combination at 8A and B. So 58.9 their two-phase score. And another combination to have set out like they mean a good bit of business.
Yeah, they do, and Georgie obviously rides this horse in this way. She bustles him a little bit, keeps him up to the job, but that's, you know, the different horses respond to different riding. Very well done. Gave the horse time to do the job.
And the brush on top of both the jump into the water and the skinny at the sea element is very forgiving.
It is forgiving. It has a different effect on certain horses. Some horses will naturally always want to clear the brush, so they actually jump it a bit higher. But like you say, it's forgiving. It gives horses a chance to brush through it if they choose to.
Well, Alexander Hewell and Chakiri Star heading towards home. 54.0 their two-phase score coming forward. They're going to pick up a few time penalties across the country. They've still got the SAP brush complex at the penultimate fence 21 A, B and C, but it's still been a really classy round. He's actually, for a combination that wouldn't be overly experienced at this level, have really shown us how it should be done.
Absolutely.
I shouldn't speak too soon. We'll watch him through the SAP question. No, absolutely fine.
If you watch Alex with his upper body position, he keeps himself upright in the combinations, and that's going to really help balance the horse.
So Alexander Hewell, Chakiri Star goes on to complete 10.4 time penalties, 64.4 his final score. As away goes Matt Heath and Cooley Lord Lux. For owner Hazel Livesey, 50.5 their dressage, clear round in the show jumping, and Matt had made a real concerted effort to actually up the tempo in the show jumping and travel a little bit more quickly. I wonder if he'll be looking to do the same across the country. We'll watch this space as Georgie Strang heads back across the lake crossing. And that fence coming out of the lake, Jonty, just describe it for us.
Well, it's the back of a duck. You jump a beautifully carved duck by David Evans, and you have to jump the back of the duck on an angle. You've only got a stride or two from the edge of the water, so it can play a part, but it needs respect, but hopefully you keep coming at it.
So Matt Heath and Cooley Lord Lux very easily clear of the first water.
They were the winners last time out in Blair Castle in the CIC 3-star class. 43 dressage, but they did pick up time penalties. They've picked up time penalties everywhere they've gone. They can be very strong jumpers, but as you say, Nicole, you pointed it out, time is going to be their big one today. Matt's such a strong rider and such an experienced rider in this phase.
And he just looks like he's having to have a bit of a discussion with the horse heading down that hill, Jonty.
Yeah, it's a difficult hill. You've come around that left-hand bend out of the woods, and all the balance is taking you downhill and away to the side, and it's difficult sometimes to balance. And this is quite a big horse, isn't he?
He is a big horse. He was actually produced to 3-start by Laura Collett. Flora Harris took over the ride, and Matt only took him on for 2017. They've had a good deal of success, as Derm said. And this is a very different track to the one up at Blair Castle where he ran at the end of August. That will surely play into his hands.
Well, any horse that struggles with time penalties, Blenheim's going to suit you better than Blair, being honest. That's going to be interesting for us as we come towards the top of the leaderboard, sitting in 4th place is Fernhill by Night, Elizabeth Holiday Sharp. I think they're going to be in a similar situation. A horse that picks up time penalties normally, but will Blenheim be something that's kind to them?
So over halfway now, Matt Heath and Cooley Lord Luck still clear as they come to the St James's Place question, but a good 20 seconds down on the clock, maybe slightly more, as they approach the first of those questions.
And you could just see Matt adding a stride in there. That all takes a bit of time, and he took a little bit longer to set up for it.
Well, over the time is Georgie Strang and Cooley Earl, but they jump clear and they come home to complete 68.1 their total score. So they've completed safely with a good clear round across the country. Jonty, we're going to let you go. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, or this afternoon. It's not this morning now. And we've loved having your insight.
Thank you very much for having me. I think the climax is going to be really gripping, very exciting. I think Durham might blow up actually when it's
entirely
when you're coming
possible.
To the top.
Entirely possible. Thank you, Jonty. And hopefully we'll see you in the Masters Series in 2018. Well, our latest starter, Gina Ruck with Rehe 2, 51.4 dressage, 1 pole rolled in the show jumping, so 55.4 saw her just outside the top 20. As Matt Heath comes back across the lake crossing, just under 2 minutes to get home.
Angle there, Singles coming towards you as they come down off towards the Oxer, the combination 17A.
As Matt Heath turns to the SAP question. Let's get a clock check for him here, because he would need to be jumping at this second element with 2 minutes on the 2 minutes on the clock, sorry. So he's 34 seconds over what he should be, and that is going to prove expensive in terms of time penalties for him. He makes that long run up towards the Charles Owen hat box at 18. But we're joined in the commentary studio now by none other than Swedish international event rider Ludvig Svennesdahl. Ludvig, thank you for joining us. Have you had a chance to see any of the course so far? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit. It's a tough track, and it's some good questions, and I think the time will be difficult. But it's a very good track, I think. And this is going to be very exciting. I mean, this is the finale, and I'm so excited about this. It's going to be a great show.
You and Derm aren't going to lead each other astray, I hope.
Yeah.
Gina Ruck, Rehe 2, coming to the lake crossing as Matt Heath coming through the British eventing houses. And actually, he made that look very straightforward on the inside line.
Yeah. And and I think, I mean, it's a horse that's been very good now in the last couple of runs, and had a great performance in Blair, so it'll be very exciting to see how fast he is.
Well, Gina Ruck, Rehe 2, head away from the first lake crossing up the hill, and they come on to the St James's Place flower table at 12. Get a clock for Gina here, 3 minutes and 3 on the clock there, so she's some 16, 17 seconds down on the clock as things stand, but she committed to that distance there.
Yeah, it was good riding, I think. She rode her line and rode positive and forward. No, it was good riding.
Well, Matt Heath, Cooley, Lord, Lux. Over the time, the clock has turned red. Those time penalties, they add up so very quickly. But a clear jumping round so far, and he sees the stride for the last, gets it well, and comes home with a clear cross-country round. And 11.6 time, he finishes on 62.1. So we're yet to see anybody achieve that optimum time. Derm, dare I ask you to start considering a Equi ratings prediction for the number that make it?
That's no problem at all, Nicole.
I'll come back to you if you like.
No, I mean, I'm always ready for those things. I think Graf Liberty's going to run them very close, and of course Be Touchable, Izzy Taylor's going to run them close, Chico Bella. I'm going to say we're probably looking at 3, 4, absolutely no more than that.
Okay, well, our latest starter, Sarah Bullimore, Lily Corinne, and we get to jump one of the biggest fences on the course with her. What a treat, because that ditch in front of fence 5 really is enormous. 50.1 her total coming forward. She is in the top 20, so that means that we are in the top 20. Counting down now the reverse order cross country, and it promises to be an exciting conclusion to the 2017 Event Rider Masters Series. But Sarah Bullimore doesn't look to have set out overly quickly, Ludwig.
No, and this is the thing with this course, is when it's a short format and it's so intense that just that short bit, it's so important to keep going, to keeping that high rhythm, and that's where it's very easy to lose time, and at the same time you don't really have anywhere to pick up time. So that's why it makes such an exciting show, and it's going to be nail biting until the finish.
So Sarah Bullimore and Lily Corinne coming to the top of the hill as they go to cross the lake for the first time.
And I think it's still like this is a very experienced horse. Isn't it done? It's done quite a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. We're into the 15th CIC 3-star run, and also been here in Blenheim twice already at CIC 3-star level, so they will have seen some of these types of questions before, or been used to being in the lorry park here, Ludwig, so you know they certainly have the experience, but will they be able to make the time? They have had some fast rounds. Don't forget they were clear inside the time at Lemoulin. They picked up just 0.4 of a second. That's only 1 second over the time at Buccleuch last year as well. Buccleuch can be a place that it's not always easy to make the time. So Lily Corinne certainly has the speed in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. And Sarah is definitely experienced enough. But it is a very tough track. And with the waters being so long, you lose time there. And it's a lot of places where it's very easy to lose time. And that's what makes it such an exciting show.
So coming towards home, Gina Ruck and Rehe too. It's been a very good round from them. The clock is red though. They're over the time allowed. Some 27 seconds over at our final clock check. So that is going to prove expensive for them. Catherine Robinson out in front, 56.6. She's the fastest round of the day so far. But what a round from Gina Ruck. She was just outside the top 20 here 12 months ago, and she's put in another very strong performance at 13.2 times 68.6 she completes on. Tom Jackson and Waltham Fiddler's Find away on course, 49.5, and they were in 19th position coming forward to the final phase. Reverse order cross country, remember, and they made that look very straightforward. It's the first real question on course, isn't it, Ludwig?
Yeah, it's a first question, and you get there and it's a little bit of crowds and things going on, so it's important to keep the horse focused on the questions. And no, it's a tough question, and I think we saw there he keeps a good rhythm, but still he a little bit could ride a little bit faster if he wants to really make the time. This is the challenging bit, because if you see from that complex up to the open ditch, it's quite a short distance, but that's very important to get into gear and keep the gear up. That's where you lose time.
So Sarah Bullimore 34 seconds down on the clock with Lily Corinne. She's not going to be able to make that up, but she is still going to head on up the hill with a bit of an opportunity to catch the clock slightly. We have seen actually somebody, Ludwig, catching up a bit of time from that point on the course before the finish.
Yeah, I think you can, but it's not that much, and it also depends how much you got left in the horse. But horse, they still run up those hills a little bit, and it's not that many horses that will be able to really catch up time there.
Well, Tom Jackson, Waltham Fiddler's Find on that score of 49.5, coming to the water.
Well, this
as Sarah Bullimore, Lily Corinne, and they're choosing the inside line. What was your preferred option there, Lily?
I think that is definitely the preferred option. It looks very nice. She rode that very good. I don't really see a reason to go the outside line there, and we know the time is tight, and you need to pick every inside line you can in order to make the time. So no, but then she rode it very nice. She had a very, very nice round, I think.
Well, she's around 30 seconds down on the clock. She's about to have the clock turn red, and she's still got the SAP question to go, but a very good round so far for Sarah Bullimore. Tom Jackson, Waltham Fiddler's Find, coming to the Event Rider Masters offset brushes. Now, Ludwig, the hollow in just a second, which is the next combination for Tom. The first 4 riders, we only had 1 jump it clear. What is it about it that makes it so tough?
You come from the outside and it's very light and so on, and then you go into the woods where it becomes a bit dark, and especially a horse that maybe not that experienced can react on that difference. And it's important to get your line right.
So 11.6 times, 61.7 for Sarah Bullimore and Lily Curran. Well, this is going to be a very good indication of the time, because it is none other than Andrew Nicholson. He comes forward with Jet Set. This is a horse that actually only a 10-year-old, but very experienced at this level, really, because won Bramham last year and has actually been 3rd at Tattersalls in the CCI long format 3-star as an 8-year-old as well. So he's going to be a great shout as to how achievable that optimum time of 6 minutes and 44 seconds is going to be.
Interestingly, with this pair, Nicole, at CCI format, and Ludwig will tell us about it again, but at the longer format of the sport, CCI 3-star, they make the time at Tattersalls in 2015. CCI 3-star at Bramham 2016, they make the time. But let's have a look at their CICs. 12.8 at Harbury, 13.2 at Barbary, 15.2 at Chatsworth, 10.4 at Burnham Market. Very different in the short format of the sport for this pair.
Well, we'll watch this space then, but Tom Jackson, Waltham Fiddler's Find at the St James's Place Oxa, and he is 45 seconds down on the clock.
And he has had a very nice round, but you can see that some distance he has been a little bit quiet, and that's where you lose the time. That's what, you need to keep the pace up all the time in order to make the time, and that was, from 12 time penalties to be inside the time, it's a lot more difficult, and that's, what's really going to make a difference. I really like this horse Andrew is riding. It's actually one of my really favorite horses. I think it's really a top horse, so it'll be very interesting to see how fast he'll be able to ride it. I think my gut feeling is it's a little bit behind the clock, but
he's jumping into the water in 3 minutes and 37 left on the clock. He would need to be jumping in with 3 minutes and 48. So he's about 11 seconds down on the clock. But one of the things I noticed there is he barely had to adjust the horse at all, and that must save time out on course. Tom Jackson, Waltham Fiddler's Find heading towards home, and they are over the time. They're not going to be chasing that 6 minutes and 44 second optimum time, but still a very good round from them.
I think Andrew's horse is one that could also catch up a bit of time. I saw it when he won Bramham last year, and I think it's really it was amazing there. So it's a horse that really should have enough stamina to keep going. And there you saw he chose the forward riding, and that also saves a lot of time.
Well, Andrew Nicholson and Jet Set very easily clear. That's how it needs to be jumped, the hollow, isn't it?
Beautiful. Like, that is foot perfect. And also the combination before he jumped in good, sat there, let the horse see the line. It was top riding, top horse, as good as it gets, really.
So heading towards home, Tom Jackson and Waltham Fiddler's Find. They clear the last 38 seconds over 39 seconds, 15.6 time, finish on 65.1.
And I think there we can really see how difficult the time is. He wasn't going slow. He came at a good pace, maybe a little bit quiet at some combinations, and he has that much time. It's really a challenging track time-wise.
Well, our first Australian, Sammy Birch, Hunter Valley, away on course as Andrew Nicholson heads back across the lake. And he'll head on up the hill and then swing right-handed now. And we'll be able to get a good clock check for him down at the St James's Place Oxers at 17. Sammy Birch and Hunter Valley through the first element of the first water, and they made that look very straightforward.
Yeah, and I think this is an interesting horse as well, time-wise, because I think it's Australian thoroughbred. I could be wrong, but I think it's a very thoroughbred horse, and it should be able to be quite quick around here. I don't know what you say, Dan. Maybe I'm completely wrong.
No, you're not. We're in Gula Hamlet.
Sorry?
We're in Gula Hamlet, as it was by Hunter Valley, 12-year-old bay gelding. From a time penalties perspective, you're right, Ludwig. They don't tend to pick up too many. They're used to competing at this level, CIC, so a short format, and CCI, so that's the longer format. They're experienced at this particular level. They've just won inside the time in their last 8, or in their 8 rounds at CIC 3-star level. But they don't tend to be very far over the time, so average of less than 5 time penalties at this level. Back to Andrew Nicholson and Jet Set.
Well, Andrew Nicholson on that score of 48.9. He is one of the riders that is in contention for this series. I'm not sure he's quite going to be able to do it because he'd only have 3 counting scores, and it is the best 4 scores to count. I imagine if he targets the Event Rider Masters series with his full squad of horses in 2018, he would be hard to beat. But this is a horse, actually, Jet Set, owned by Deb Brasella, who owns his badminton winner Nereo, been a very long-term supporter of Andrews, and has another superstar on her hands. So Sammy Birch, actually, this is one of the quickest rounds we've seen so far, some 8 seconds down on the clock as we saw her coming to that combination.
Yeah, very good riding, positive riding there. She used the forwards riding, and no, it was very good. A little bit how it goes here. Oh, no! Oh, shit.
Well,
but you could see, I think, a little bit that she was riding quite strong from the combination, that she maybe was a little bit questioning there, but the horse wasn't maybe 100% genuine there.
Well, Andrew Nicholson, Jet Set, they've completed 9.6 time, 58.5. But let's go back and have another look at just what happened there with Sammy Birch. Talk us through it, Ludwig, because this is almost what happens when you are just pushing for the time.
Yeah, to be honest, I think she was there she had a good line, a good stride, and maybe the horse reacted a little bit in the darkness, and it's a little bit difficult when you see what's behind them and how they're going to land, and some horses react more than others, but for me, she rode a very good line and so on, and there the horse wasn't maybe as genuine as you would have liked. But it is a very tough question. It's important to remember.
A very tough question. It's one where we've seen lots of problems so far. Will this man get through it okay? Alexander Bragg and Zagreb.
Well, they were on the podium at Gatcombe, actually behind the man who has sat with us in the studio, Ludwig Svenestall, because Alex Bragg was 3rd on that occasion. And 48.2, his dressage score. He was a little disappointed with that. The horse is very capable, but clear round in the show jumping and all to play for across the country. Well, carrying those 20 penalties, Sammy Birch and Hunter Valley, she was going very quickly up until that point, Ludwig, but that's obviously wasted her a lot of time. And time-wise, will take her out of contention as well now.
Yeah, I mean, but I'll go to Alexander. He is a very competitive man, and my feeling so far is that he's gone as fast as we've seen anyone, and he will definitely be trying to really get the time.
Looking at the recent record, they did pick up 14.4 time penalties at Gatcombe, which is a tough finish, but let's not forget what they did at Aachen, which was this year as well. Just 2 seconds over the time, and Aachen is not a place that it's easy to make the time. We're going to see Shane Rose a little bit later. He's in 2nd place, but this time is going to give us a good indication on Shane Rose and see if he qualified later in the order.
Yeah, I definitely think so, and we know Alexander is a competitive man, so he will really go for it. So it will be really a good indication to see where we are. Yes, I mean one of the last lines was very good.
Well, Sammy Birch, Hunter Valley heading towards home with those 20 penalties, and that's a real shame for them. As away goes Sir Mark Todd. Now, this is a very important round in terms of the series because Kiltubrid Rhapsody, 43.6, a rail down in the show jumping, 47.6, the score they come forward. In 15th position, the top 15 pick up the big series points. The quicker he can go, if he is clear, will be more pressure he can put on those coming ahead of him and all to play for. But Alex Bragg, Zagreb, safely through the hollow. And he made that look very straightforward when certainly plenty of others haven't.
Yeah, it was very good riding, and you can see the horse is very experienced and they have a good partnership. It was very good riding.
Now, Derm, in terms of Mark Todd and the series, 2nd place on the podium is out of range for him. What about 3rd?
Look, it's been a very interesting morning because we would have thought Mark Todd did have a role to play in the series. But one pole down for Kiltubert Rhapsody, and a clear round then by Shane Rose has handed all the momentum to Shane Rose. He's in the driving seat right now. It's in Shane Rose's control. Mark Todd is currently sitting on 81 points. If he can finish where he is now in 15th, he has to add to that. If he wants to move up the order, if he wants to add more points, Shane Rose currently sitting with 86 points. We need a 5-point makeup. He needs to move up the order.
Well, a great shot of that enormous ditch from Mark Todd, Kiltubert Rhapsody at 5, as Alex Bragg and Zagreb 16 seconds over on the time as they come through the St James's Place Oxer combination down at fence 17.
And I think he's been riding fast. He's picked the forward strides and he's been pushing the horse along. But I mean, it just gets more and more exciting because we see the better combinations coming through, and we see how influential the time is and how difficult it is to get. So it is going to be a very tough competition.
Well, we're not going to know the winner until the last horse crosses the line. The reverse order cross country in this, the final leg of the 2017 season. I think Sir Mark Todd saw a stride there.
Yeah, I think he's going for it, and you know, you need to if you want to make the time, and he needs to climb up the order. He needs to go for those strides, and you know, as soon as you take a quiet stride to something, you lose 1 or 2 seconds, and there's no time for this track to do that.
1 or 2 seconds adds up as well. Alex Bragg and Zagreb through the offset houses that just fit the 3 strides in there, but easily enough. He has 50 seconds left on the clock. Now, when he jumps the Ditch Palisade, he would have needed 40 seconds, so he is down on the clock, but not a million miles away as we head across the lake crossing with Mark Todd. And that's a brilliant shot of that upright grate because it is just on dry land, but Jonty was saying that the water's really churned the mud up there.
Yeah, and it's as well, you know, the water, it's difficult because it takes time to ride through that water, and that's where, you know, the track becomes so difficult. But you could see Mark is pushing up the hill and still going for it.
So Alex Bragg and Zagreb in 16th position coming forward to the final phase. He's 7 seconds down on the clock, but this is the fastest round we have seen by far, and he's actually really caught up time on this last part of the course. So he's heading to the final fence, and he will be our new live podium leader. Alex Bragg and Zagreb, they've been on the podium once already this year. Can they be on again? 3.6 time, 51.8. That was a very classy round from a classy combination.
Yeah, and a very, very good all the way through. Determined riding, really top class.
Interesting for me, Shane Rose, CP qualified, did the exact same time penalty at Aachen. If they both ride the same round, we could be looking at a drop in the order because Cooley Masterclass is behind Shane Rose. We'll come back to that. Here's Francis Whittington, Hasty Imp.
Well, this is a combination that have been at top 10 in the Event Rider Masters on a couple of occasions already this year, at Barbary and at Gatcombe, and a horse that has really found his niche at this level and in this kind of format of competition. Francis himself very experienced, but Mark Todd and Kiltubert Rhapsody heading down to the SAP question.
I see Francis again coming to the first water. It'll be interesting to see how fast he is. So you get the feeling that he's kicking on and riding in a good rhythm. Oh. Right, but it's good there. You see that he moves away from the fence, and that's where it's easy to lose time when the fences are this close. It's still a distance that matters, but Francis is on a mission a bit, and he kicks on. It's be interesting to see how much time
we'll do a clock check on Francis shortly. As Hasty Imp heads down through the woods, out the other side to the Rowan Barbary brush combination at 8 A and B.
And this is also quite difficult to ride fast when you're coming down the hill, and it's very easy to then set up and waste time. And that, when it's this time, the time is this time, there's no time to that. Now we're back here with Mark.
So Mark Todd, Kiltubert Rhapsody coming towards the end of their round. 50 seconds left on the clock, and he would have needed to be that with a minute. So he's around 10 seconds down. How much can he catch up in the last part of his round?
Still only a 10-year-old at Kiltubert Rhapsody, but he hasn't yet been into time. Hasty Imp, Francis, Ludwig. Hasty Imp, even though he's an Irish sport horse by Master Imp, he's a horse that we know doesn't have a huge engine. He's a horse that we know can tire quite quickly. That's why CIC, the shorter format of the sport, may suit him better, but we're still going to have to watch him at the latter part of the track because questions do come up.
Yeah, definitely, and that's the difficult part, and you need to have enough left in the engine. It'd be very interesting to see here. Mark?
Well,
Mark is similar to Alexander, isn't he? But it's been a very quick round for this horse, I think, Dan, hasn't it?
He is pushing towards home. This is a big round in terms of the series because this is going to put the pressure on those coming ahead of him. 51.6, the clock is still going. He is over the time, but 5.2 time, 52.8. That is going to put him behind Alex Bragg and Zagreb. And that is going to be a score that we are going to have to watch very carefully for the series podium. I'm not sure he's going to have quite done enough.
That's his fastest CIC 3-star round.
Well,
and if he kept a really good rhythm, as we could see, you know, he was saying he was coming down the hill and he was going for it. But it's so tight that even those few seconds he's behind Alexander.
Well, Ros Cantor with her own Zen Shearer, the horse on whom she finished top 10 at Le Moulin a little bit earlier on this year, goes away from the start. 45.8 their starting score, so another to keep a very close eye on. And Francis Whittington and Hasty Imp head on up the hill, coming to the St James's Place Oxer. As we're well inside the top 15 now here in the series finale of the Event Rider Masters, the reverse order cross country. Francis Whittington at the St James's Place turning question. Let's get a clock on him. 23 seconds down on the clock. So that is going to prove a little expensive for him in terms of time penalties, but he can try and make up a bit of time now.
Yeah, but it's still, you know, we see how tight the time is when you've seen him before. We thought he had a quick round and he's still that many seconds behind. It is a very tough track. Rosalind Cantor would be quite a quick one, wouldn't she, Dan?
Then Shearer is a horse. It's a really interesting one for me because the big notable one for me is 5.2 time penalties this year at Chatsworth. It was a really strong display for this pair. Chatsworth as a venue is not a bad place to have 5.2 time penalties. It's still a good indication of speed.
Yeah, and it's very, very difficult to keep the speed up those up and downs. And no, it's a very tough track.
Well, Francis Whittington can be 10 seconds over the time to still go to the top of the live podium. He is pushing towards home now. We'll come back to him shortly as Ros Cantor comes to the first lake crossing. She saw her distance to that final skinny element. We've seen it catch one or two out, but she makes it look very straightforward.
Yeah, and she's a very good rider. It was determined riding there. She got a little bit off her line, but make sure it happened, and no, it was very good riding.
Very strong cross-country rider. She's going for her 20th CIC 3-star clear round this decade. She's only had 25, so it's a 90% rate. She's been here twice before. She's been clear on the one time she went cross-country.
Well, Hasty Imp and Francis Whittington, 8 seconds down on the clock as they come to that final clock check. He is pushing towards home. The clock is turning red. He can only afford to be 10 seconds over to go ahead of Alex Bragg. He's not going to be able to do it, I don't think. A pull to the last, and he goes home as Alex Bragg can stay on the top of that podium for just a little bit longer, and he'll enjoy that, and we can...
But it's amazing. He did caught up quite a lot of time there down from the corners. So it is possible. But I was quite surprised it was that late there, but...
So yeah. Will Furlong and Livingston away from the start, but let's go and hear from the man who's on the top spot of the podium. How long will he be there for?
Well, he is already a climber. Congratulations, Alex. Great ride.
Yeah, no, he's fab. I mean, he's such an experienced horse. I think I might have lost that view. Such an experienced horse, but you know, he showed that through the difficult combinations, locked on, put my legs around him, and he just kept jumping, kept galloping. Super, really.
Where was the toughest bit on the track?
God, I think once you get to that first river crossing, it just stays really intense up through the woods. There's difficult combinations, angles, arrowheads, and when you cut out of the corner, right in the bottom corner of the park there, you can kind of relax and kick on, but up to that point, it's pretty intense.
Listen, it was a great round. You're already a climber. You've gone ahead of Sir Mark Todd. Keep an eye on that screen.
Well, Will Furlong, in all manner of bother coming over the big ditch and brush. He very nearly had a visit to the ditch, but got away with it. And he's actually got a few moments now to regroup, Ludwig, and get his knitting back.
Yeah, I think the horse got a little bit spooky, and he had a little bit a difficult jump over the open ditch. And when you had that difficult jump there, it's difficult to come to the water, but hopefully has a chance to get the horse a little bit more going. This is a horse I rode myself as a young horse and rode here as an 8-year-old. It's a very good horse. It'd be interesting to see how quick he can be. I wouldn't say it's the quickest horse around, but it's a very good jumper and scopy jumper, so you can keep a very high rhythm. Very interesting prospect, and Willie's obviously a very good rider.
Well, Ros Cantor is coming towards home. She has 14 seconds in hand over the top of the podium at the moment, Alex Bragg. She has 40 seconds left on the clock, so she is slightly down on the clock, but she'll be looking to try and catch up as much as she can. Will Furlong into the first late crossing. Just managed to keep his line.
Yeah, a little bit hairy there, but he rode determinedly. He got a little bit off his ride, but he made it happen. It was good riding. Then now we need to kick on a little bit. The horse is still a little bit not really traveling, so I think it's important he really gets the horse going and thinking forward.
So Will Furlong and Livingston head on up the other side of the hill. This combination actually already down on the clock, but Ros Cantor and Zen Shearer, the clock turns red for them. Actually, they could afford to be 14 seconds over to go ahead of Alex Bragg. They are going to be riding their luck. This is going to be a case of what kind of stride they see to the final fence. I'm not sure they're quite going to do it. And just marginally over. Ros is going to have to sit very tight. She does.
I don't know what happened there.
She just manages to stay in the plate, but that actually costs her a bit of time as well. So Alex Bragg stays at the top of the podium, but it looks like a fall there for Will Furlong and Livingston. They hadn't had the smoothest of rounds. We'll come back to that in just a moment. As away goes Willa Newton and Neelix, just outside the top 10 in 11th position, and they come forward on their dressage score of 44.9. So we'll go back to Will Furlong. Ludwig, just talk us through this.
Yeah, but I was quite surprised about this. I think the horse had a little bit of second look and going in there, and he didn't really stay behind the horse and fell off. But I think he had a little bit of tough time in the beginning of the horse being a bit spooky, so that's a little bit tough for him.
So Willa Newton and Neelix away from the first water as Alex stays on the top of the podium for a bit longer. Mark Todd into second. And he'll be looking to hold on to that spot for as long as he possibly can. Let's go and hear from the man himself.
It's the fastest CIC 3-star you've been on that horse.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's not the fastest thing, but he can keep up a good gallop, and he's really better at, the long format where you've got a bit more room between fences, but he went really well today, and he finished full of running, and I managed to see pretty reasonable strides at most of the fences, so it was great.
It was great to watch. Well done.
Thank you.
Well, Willa Newton and Neelix away on course and coming to the first late crossing. Now, we need to be jumping in this first element with 3 minutes and 50 left on the clock, and she is as good as there or thereabouts. So this is the first chance we've had a clock on her and an opportunity to see somebody really close to that time. Dom, from an Echo Ratings perspective, what could we expect from Neelix?
Well, Nicole, Willa Newton is the first horse that was on the list. They were sub 45 in the dressage. They jumped clear in the show jumping. They're the key things that we need to look out for as you move towards a winner. But just 1.2 time penalties on Hartbury in 2017 at CIC 3-star level. That's your first indication that the speed is there. For a 17-year-old, there is absolutely nothing slowing Neelix down. 5.6 time penalties at Bergam and 7.6 at Bramham. Clear inside the time at Hartbury last year. This is a horse that, if they can get into the proper rhythm, and it looks like Ludwig can tell us if they are, I suggest they're a contender.
This is by far the fastest round we have seen so far. Willa Newton and Neelix. This is the combination that caught out Sammy Birch when she was going quickly and just gets away with it. So a little bit steady over that third element, but they're safely clear as we head into the top 10. Laura Collett, Grand Manoeuvre, 43.4. Their starting score. An unlucky pole for them in the show jumping after that very good dressage, and in 9th position after the first 2 phases.
it's really starting to become exciting now. Now we're really heading to the top 10, and we really see. I think for me, Willa Newton and Neelix will be really a top contender to make the time. I think they are really pushing on. They're having a good ride, and I think they might actually make the time.
I think making the time is going to be difficult for them, but that's not to say they can't do it. We're now getting into the area of horses that can do it. Grand Maneuver is a different type of horse. He will potentially struggle with time on a tight track. Blenheim's not normally a course you'd associate with a tight track, but Grand Maneuver, a very big jumper. So keep an eye on that. How quickly can Laura get him back round and through the technicalities of the course that we've got facing us today? Back to Willa Newton and Neelix.
Yeah, we see here, so she's a lot faster than the ones we've seen before. But so
she was true to flags, and that's the big question.
It is, but the pin has gone. So the pin has gone, and that will mean 11 penalties under the rules of FEI will be added to her score. So we need to keep a very close eye on that, and it may mean that the fence repair team will be very quickly on hand to rebuild that fence, but it is a safety device to help stop a fall if a horse hits a fence at a certain angle. So we can just see that again, Ludwig. Just talk us through where this went wrong.
She was just a little bit to the left, and I think she was riding on a little bit faster in the beginning. The horse was just a little bit not as quick as in the beginning with its feet, and when she was a little bit too much to the left and the horse was not really going, then you can see it's easy to have mistakes, and that's why it's difficult. She rode really fast in the beginning, was one of the fastest there, and then it's easy to have a mistake because the horse tire a bit. It's a very intensive course, and that's where you get the difficulties. That would be really interesting to see Laura here. It feels like she's been going pretty fast so far.
Well, into the lake crossing for the first time. This is a horse who wouldn't always be known for his speed,
No, not necessarily a speed horse at all, but that's not necessary. It's just because he's quite a big horse, which means that on tracks like this, which are very technical, when he jumps so big, it takes all of Laura's power and skill to be able to turn him that quickly. A hugely talented horse, one who has excelled at both formats, long and short, but speed on a very technical course can play an issue. Back to Willa Newton.
Well, that is a real shame that she had that frangible pin, because she is dot on where she needs to be as she comes towards the final fence. She's going to be flirting with that optimum time. I'm not sure she's going to quite do it. And she clears the last, so she goes through the finish. Quick check of the watch, the fastest round we've seen. Just 2 time penalties, but 11 penalties for that frangible pin. Now, the fence repair team will be very quickly on hand to rebuild that fence, but it just means that Laura Collett has actually been held by the fence judges out on course. Should only be a couple of minutes before we get restarted, Ludwig. But what goes through your mind as a rider? You're halfway through the round, you see the red flag being waved by the fence judge, and you've all of a sudden got to come back from all the adrenaline to pull up.
I think it's amazing. I was like, yes, you get the horse to catch a breath. And I think it's important, now Laura is a very experienced rider and she should be able to use it to her advantage. For me, it's a very good thing. You've ridden, you can get the horse back, get the breath back, and then you can really use it to push on, because you can see a little bit with Willa that the horse maybe was slightly tiring, and that makes it really difficult to then, if you get hold, you can then catch the breath and you have a fresh horse again.
A fresh horse while they refill on petrol. We'll come back to Laura very shortly, but let's go and hear from a lady who's secured a place on the series podium.
Yes, Sarah Cohen joins me now. Looking a little bit casual and relaxed. Why did you withdraw today?
Well, with the 2 rails down this morning, we were laying in 25th place, so I didn't think we'd be able to do enough. There were too many good ones out there to get decent place.
He has been incredible. He's been literally the model of consistency throughout this series, and you have competed in every single leg.
Yeah, he's been brilliant. I mean, all season he's been on top form. And okay, didn't go to plan today, but I thought he's done enough. I'm hoping he's done enough. But we know we've got a podium finish anyway, and we'll just see these final few, whether it's second or third.
The course is still on hold. The man who is putting it up to you is the great Sir Mark Todd, who is currently on the podium. It's just a question of whether he can actually stay there. Cutty, he's holding on to that chair for dear life.
I know, I'm more nervous watching this than actually riding.
Well, listen, great decision. The welfare of the horse always paramount. We know that, and we can't wait to see Teresa next season. And thank you for everything, and so many congratulations. We'll see you up at the big series podium later on.
Thank you. Yeah, he's very cross. He hasn't run because he's on great form. But I want him for next season. I just thought we weren't going to gain a lot from running today. Though seeing how much carnage it's causing, I'm thinking, oh, should I have done? But
no, you're right. Never the wrong decision not to run. Well done.
No, thank you.
So Laura Collett is being restarted by the fence judges, and we'll just tell you about the stopping procedure, because the fence judges actually take a time for every horse that approaches their fence at a landmark some 20, 30, 40 metres in front of their fence that won't move throughout the day. So if they need to stop a horse, and they'll be told by cross-country control if they do need to stop a horse on course, then they can wait until the combination have passed their timing marker at full competition speed, flag them down. They'll then explain to the rider where that timing marker is, and when they're able to restart, they can come back past the timing marker at full competition speed. So Laura's time will be calculated accordingly, and we'll get an update on that very shortly. But she's safely clear of the hollow, and Ludwig, you were saying that actually that can be an advantage to be held on course.
Yeah, for me it is. It depends a little bit. Some people get a little bit distracted, but as long as you can keep the horse going and use it to your advantage. But it'd be very interesting to see, because that to me was really super riding all the way through there. That was really as good as it gets. And I think, you know, that we saw Toddy before. He has also a big striding horse. And I think even if this is quite technical, it seems like you maybe be able to use it to your advantage around here.
The only thing I would say about Grand Maneuver is I don't think he gets tired. I don't think a hold on course is what affects any time penalties. I think it's just those big jumps.
He spends a lot of time in the air, and if you ever see him jump a really big fence into water, it is like an aeroplane.
Yeah. She's having a very good round. It looks very smooth, and the horse is very with her and so on. I think for me, it looks like she's having a quick round. I don't know if she's as quick to make the time, but it's the quickest I've ever seen the horse go, to be honest.
Well, always in a great rhythm, and as you say, an experienced rider. She's coming close to 70 CIC 3-star runs. She's been here 4 times previously. 3 of them she went clear in the cross country.
Well, we'll get an update on her time. It'll take a few moments to get the held time from the fence judge who held her up at the top of the course. So we'll get that time updated very shortly. But Laura Collett's still enjoying a good clear round across the country with Grand Maneuver. And certainly it can interrupt some people's rhythm as they're held on course, Ludwig. But actually she looks like she's carried on as before.
Yeah, I think the horse is really going with her and really listening to her. She gets it back really good. And no, it's the best I've ever seen the horse go. I think she looks really good and on target.
Well, this is a man who could give us our first clear inside the time. Chris Burton and Graf Liberty. They were inside... 2 seconds over the time, actually, I should say, 0.8 time penalties, but the fastest round of the day by far at Blair Castle when they finished on the podium in second place, 43.4. They're in 9th place coming forward to this cross country and quickly clear of the first 5. Well, 12 months ago, actually, Laura Collett Grand Maneuver had a late 20 penalties at the penultimate combination here in the Event Rider Masters. Laura will be looking to get this out of the way. She does so. He doesn't always make it easy, does he, Ludwig?
No, he makes it a bit more difficult, but because that was the first time we saw him getting a little bit strong. But I think it's been very much with her the whole way around. And I think maybe for her, actually getting stopped was an advantage, because then you can calm the horse down. And sometimes they also get a bit stronger. You have a horse that you can then quiet down a bit, make it a bit more rideable. And I think she had a really nice round.
Well, we'll get an update on Laura Collett's time as soon as it is confirmed from the fence judge. She had a short hold out on course, so that has to be calculated. But Equi ratings have dubbed Chris Burton, quite rightly, as the fastest rider in the world. Just to explain in a bit more detail as to why that is and what we can expect.
No time for details, Nicole, but this is a man who makes the time on all of his horses at the most difficult venues and does it on days when nobody else does it. Graf Liberty is one of those horses. He was placed here, don't forget, in the 8 and 9-year-old class, but he's going for a perfect 10 from 10 at CIC 3-star level in terms of jumping. Chris Burton is going for 50 CIC 3-star levels. That's the highest rate in the field. He's currently 88%. That's this decade. Very experienced rider, very experienced horse. They got the show jumping out of them with minimum damage, and now it's time for them to really exert their dominance. One of the fastest that we're going to see this afternoon. Keep an eye on the clock very closely.
I really think this is a horse that will keep going all the way through the end. We saw him in Blair. He kept on going to the end, and it's a very important factor, I think, on this track. But I think this looks very good, and it'll be a very exciting. But I think he will make the time.
Well, Chris Burton is well up on the clock, some 10 seconds up on the clock as he comes to the hollow, actually, and very easily through that. You can almost see him shaving the time, can't you, Ludwig, as he's already turning, going clear of that final skinny.
Yeah, and the horse is really staying with him. It's rideable all the way through, and that is an important thing, to get the horse ride fast.
Well, it's just come through that Laura Collett confirmed 6.4 time penalties. That is once the score has been calculated, round in 7 minutes, but she does go to the top of the live podium. So she goes into the lead at the moment, 49.8. So Alex Bragg and Mark Todd better enjoy those positions on the podium for just a few moments longer.
And as Ludwig said, he thought it looked fast. You were right, it was. That's one of the fastest that they've ever done at CIC 3-star format. Brilliant result for Laura Collett, grand manoeuvre.
Yeah, I think so. And you could see that the horse was with her and rideable. But now to Berto, I mean, you nearly expect him to go inside the time. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing, but it looks very good and very smooth. And he is very fast up to that point.
He looks about on target for the time as things stand at the moment. So this could be our first clear round inside the time. Chris Burton, Graf Liberty, as our latest starter, is none other than Pippa Funnel with Sarah Sjoborg-Wicks. Chipia.
I think this is a horse I really like. I think it's a fantastic horse. It's been around for quite a while and was in the London Olympics, and it's really a top horse. And I don't know time-wise, I think they might struggle a little bit with the time from my experience, but Pippa, I don't know how fast the horse have been in the past, but I would say that's a little bit the horse's weakness, or?
Well, let me tell you. Well, we'll come back to that. But this is a horse that doesn't necessarily struggle with pace, but part of that is driven by the rider, Chris Burton, being so fast. But the only thing we have to be careful of in terms of getting a read is he has been off. He hasn't had too many runs in the last couple of years at international level.
He was comfortably up on the clock through there, Derm. So we'll come back to him. I think we could be about to see our first horse go inside the time.
Excellent news. Back to Pippa. You're right, Ludwig. The time and cross country isn't always their strongest point. This is a very strong horse in the first phase. They've been sub 35. And actually they've never had a pole down with Pippa Funnel up until this morning. So we'll come back to their time. Here is where it gets exciting. We are getting closer and closer to our first... Don't slow up, Chris. We're getting closer and closer to our first clear round inside the time. Is it going to happen?
Yeah, definitely. I think he can trot to the finish.
Ludwig is overly confident. I'm not sure he's going to go quite that far, but Chris Burton, we had our first Australian winner at Blair Castle, and we've got another Australian going to the top of the podium, easily inside the time. And that is by far the fastest round we have seen. So Chris Burton takes over from Laura Collett at the top of the podium as Pippa Funnel and Chipia coming to the hollow.
See her, the line before she rode very well. Oh no! Oh.
Well, just parting of company. And we'll come back to that very shortly, but that takes Pippa Funnel and Chippy out of contention. They'll be checked over by the excellent team we have here on site as away goes the 2017 Series champion. She wrapped up the series with a very good fourth place finish at Blair Castle, and she can come here knowing that she has won the 30,000 first prize for winning the 2017 series. But there is, of course, the matter of the leg. So Gemma Tattersall, Chica Bella P, has no seconds in hand of Chris Burton and Graf Liberty. 43.2.
I mean, I think this is amazing. We see all these horses. It's unbelievable. You can't really describe the quality of these horses. It is unbelievable. You see horse. I want to say I love this horse as well.
Again and again.
It's just amazing with this series how they bring the absolutely best horses of the world. And it's so good to see.
Great to see Pippa Funnell and Shapir up on their feet after that parting of company, as Gemma Tattersall, Chica Bella P, just running a little bit deep to the parallel away from the first water.
Well, cast your mind back a year. This was a really influential moment in the 2016, the very first Event Rider Masters. Gemma was the hot favourite. We were on Chico Bella P. We were in the middle of the cross-country phase, and a run-out here at Blenheim ended the series and ended the leg for them. Today is going to be different. We need a clear round from Chico Bella P. She's won the series, but this is personal pride.
Well, Laura Collett taking the top spot at the top of the podium for a little bit longer. She's going to have to enjoy that for a few moments, because Chris Burton is coming very swiftly in that direction. Certainly if how fast he rides across the country is any indication. But let's go and hear from the lady herself.
Oh, Laura, you had a hold. It was a tense time.
Yeah, I've only ever been held on that horse once, and it was a disaster because he basically ran blind with me afterwards. So I wasn't really looking forward to coming to those next two combinations. But he was foot perfect, and I don't know if it's possible, but he's getting better with age. And I just, had an amazing time out there.
It's as quick as we've seen you go on him.
I know, I was terrified.
Well done. I'm afraid you're not going to be holding that seat for long, though.
Well, no, not when Berto follows me.
Well, Gemma Tattersall and Chica Bella P have nothing in hand over Chris Burton and Graf Liberty. But they're coming to the top of the hill, and they're actually 2 seconds up on the clock at the St James's Place question.
I was going to say, Nicole, I don't think they might not need it. They only picked up 1.6 time penalties at Belton, just 4 seconds over. They were clear and inside at Bramham 2016. They picked up 2 time penalties at Jardy this year. You'll remember it, Nicole. It was a wonderful round. Lots of people were picking up time penalties. Star Connection, the guy who went on and won with Michael Young, they picked up more time penalties than that. It was a brilliant round. Chico Bella P has the engine. She has the skill. She can jump clear. She can do dressage. This is her opportunity. She can go. She doesn't need any seconds over Chris Burton. She can go inside the time.
And I think she's going very fast and had a very good round so far. All those combinations she's ridden spot on, and it looks like a very, very classy ride so far.
Well, Chica Bella P finished just off the podium in Jardy. Isn't a horse that we've seen on many occasions. She scored 43.2 in the dressage, but easily clear in the show jumping. To see her in 7th position coming forward to the final cross country. It is the reverse order cross country here, the series finale of the Event Rider Masters at the Blenheim Palace International Horse Trials, and we are very much into the top 10. Izzy Taylor, our dressage and show jumping leader, will be the last horse out on course. Well, just slightly down on the clock at the turning question, down at fence 17, but we've certainly seen a couple of horses really catching up time, Ludwig, on this long run away from the final combination there.
Yeah, you definitely can, but you need to remember she's been going very fast in the beginning, and it's a little bit how much fuel has she got left in the horse. I mean, we know, for example, Graf Liberty, it's a horse that's been around 4-star track. It has the stamina, we know that, but we don't know with Chico Bella. I don't think it's been to a 4-star before, and this is maybe where you can see the difference with the experience of the horses. And, you know, you can catch up time, but you need a fresh horse in it to be able to do so.
Well, we'll get a clock on Gemma very shortly. We'll do a check on her as she comes to these offset houses. Now, she'd need to be taking off these offset houses with a minute left on the clock. She's actually there or thereabouts, but she cannot afford to be even a second over the time. So she is going to really need to put her foot down on the accelerator as she heads towards home. Can she do it, Dam?
Yes, she can do it. I think she's in a great rhythm. I think this is very similar to the round we saw at Jardy. Doesn't always look like she's travelling as fast as some of the other horses, but that rhythm, that skill that you're seeing from the rider, that willingness that you're seeing from the horse, they can get there.
But it's also remembering that the last combination, was it last year where she had a run out in the end?
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's going to be tough because she needs to balance time against precision, and it's not finished yet.
Yeah,
20 penalties is more expensive than a couple of seconds. So Gemma Tattersall, Chica Bella P is heading towards home. She's just got the last to go. She's got 8 seconds to get home. I don't think she's going to do it. She has nothing in hand of our live podium leader, Chris Burton. She's won the 2017 season, but she is a few seconds over 1.6, 2 time penalties, 45.2. She is going to drop behind Chris Burton, but still, what a round from this young lady. And we'll see in a second Chris Burton heading towards that top spot as Tim Price and Ascona M head away from the start. 42.6 their dressage in 6th place after the first 2 phases. But Laura Collett, she was only on the top spot for a few moments. She enjoyed it as Chris Burton, dubbed by Equi-Ratings as the fastest rider in the world, takes his spot at the top place. Let's go and hear from what the man himself has to say.
First man inside the time. You are the fastest man in the world according to Equi-Ratings, and you proved it again.
Well, thank you very much. I had a really lovely ride on him. He knows his way around. He got quite excited in the warm-up and he was a bit strong, which he isn't normally. But I'm delighted to have such a good round. Thank you to the owners for providing me with such an easy cross-country horse.
I think you made it look pretty easy. You're in top spot. Let's hope you hold on.
Thank you very much, Alice.
In the jumping earlier on there, arena.
So Tim Price very easily clear through the first water. Swings left-handed now from that rails away. A straightforward fence, Ludwig, but just actually causes riders to take a bit of a pull.
Yeah, exactly. It is quite a straightforward fence, but it is still important to get a good jump of it. You have a similar jump later in the course, and we saw with Will Furlong, he started getting a little bit of hesitant jump there. He fell off later in the course, so it is a very important jump.
Well, Ascona she's a 9-year-old, and she's very much learning her trade, but everything she has done so far has been brilliant. She had 1 down today, but that's fine for just a 9-year-old in a show jumping track like you will have seen at Event Rider Masters. It's difficult, but 3 from 3 jumping cross country, and that's what it's all about as you move through the levels. Ascona M has shown us everything so far. This is another big test for them. Tim Price is the man who I think can help her get there.
It's ridden superbly so far. Ridden fast, but giving the horse a very, very good ride. But this is what I mean, like, you go crazy, you see all these amazing horses. This is another one, I think. I've seen it here last year with Janelle, and I think this is really as good as you get out of a 9-year-old. It's really a promising horse for them, and Tim is going for it. It's giving the horse a really, really good ride.
But this is how close it is, because he has only 1 second in hand over Chris Burton. If he is 2 seconds over the time, he will go behind Chris Burton, and Chris Burton will stay on the top spot.
The big one for me, Nicole, is how many clear of Mark Todd is he? What we're waiting to see is if and when Mark Todd can begin to move up the placings. He's going to need to be 7th or better. Wherever he is out there, if he gets 7th or better, he can guarantee himself a place on the podium. But otherwise, you're going to see all the big guns coming. Tim Price, he needs a big result. Oliver Townend is still to come, and Shane Rose is still to come. But
Mark Todd is currently worst place 11th. He's 5th at the moment. He can be no lower than 11th.
Well, if that's the case, then he's going to need 4 of the top 5 to run into difficulties and move behind them. We need slow rounds from them, or else we need a 20 penalties from them. He'll have his fingers crossed, but I don't expect to see it. It's going to be very, very tight. It's likely to boil down to Townend and Shane Rose time penalties.
But it's so tight, and we've seen fast riders before that easy clock up a couple of penalties. It's so tight, and it's so exciting, this.
Well, the big one to remind you of is we've seen this on a number of occasions. What can pressure do? Even to the best riders. We saw at the end of Blair, we saw 20 penalties.
Well, Bill Levitt goes away with the Prentice family and his own Shannondale Titan. 41 they scored in the dressage, clear round in the show jumping, in 5th place after the first 2 phases. It would be brilliant to see Bill come onto the podium for the first time. He's been such a huge supporter of the series. And of course, the Prentice family have been long-term supporters of Bill's as well. Remember, there is a prize for the winning owner of the horse in each of the legs in the series, and that is a 2-night stay at the Monarch Spa over in Ireland. And then for the owner of the series winner, there's also a 2-night stay during the sale, the Elite Horse sale over in Ireland on the 7th and 8th of November. But Tim Price, Ascona M,
he's going for it. He's going quick.
Well, we need to get a clock on him to see how close he is. Remember, he can be 1 second, but not 2 over the time.
See, Bill, he had a good round so far, a little bit hesitant over the first water, but I think this horse is experienced enough, isn't it, to really keep going.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt. Shenandoah Titans' experience is huge. This is their 22nd CIC 3-star run. That's the most in the field. But also, he's been at Event Rider Masters 10 times, Nicole. We're looking at the most experienced Event Rider Masters horse. The rider is Oliver Townend. He's the most ERM runs. The horse is Shenandoah Titan. Back to Tim Price at the other end of the scale on a 9-year-old Ascona M.
He's had a very good round so far. I mean, this horse has been going fantastic. What an exciting horse for the future. And really, Tim been riding us his best. A really exciting combination.
So Tim Price and Ascona M are home safely. How fast were they? We wait for their time to be confirmed. We'll get that to you as soon as possible. But let's go and hear from the lady currently sitting in second on the podium.
You love this series, don't you?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. She is such a wonderful mare. She only comes out now and again, and double clear today. She's just fabulous.
Just getting a bit tired towards the end.
Yeah, she just got a bit breathless a couple of times, so might need to get that checked out. But yeah, she did get a bit tired, but she's still amazing. She keeps the jump, and she's so good on her line.
Another great result. Well done, Jem.
Thank you.
So Gemma Tattersall currently sitting in second. How long can she stay there? As away goes Elizabeth Halliday Sharp. Fernhill by Night. We've only had the one American on the Event Rider Masters Series podium. That was Clark Montgomery, actually, at Bramham last year with Loch Glen. Will we see another one in 2017?
Well, Liz has put herself into a great position. Fernhill by Night will always start well. He did a great job today to keep all the poles up. Now comes the challenging phase. We'll come back to them. We'll come back to their time penalties. We'll come back to the jumping. But they've put themselves into a great position. They've given themselves a great platform. Back to Bill Levitt, Shenandoah Titan.
His horse is jumping well, rode that line very good. It'd be very interesting to see if he's been fast enough. My feeling is that he's been a little bit slow. What about Holiday Sharp? Will she make the time, Dom?
I think it's unlikely that she'll make the time. I'd say she knows that herself. But the key thing is that she's now given herself the platform to do it. What you don't want to be is down the order on a horse that you know that might not make the time. Looking at the recent rounds, CIC 2-star at Barbary Castle 2016, I remember it. They went clearing inside the time that day, so they can do it. And I know Liz talked about it today. When they want to go for it, they'll do their best to go for it. She seemed reasonably confident this morning. She's going to give it everything she's got, and let's just wait and see.
And she's still got a couple of penalties to pick up a couple of penalties and still finish pretty good.
Exactly. The key thing, as you say, is tactics. You don't necessarily need to be inside the time. You can pick up some time penalties, but and maintain a good placing.
Yeah, exactly. We see her line here. It's a very nice horse, going very well so far.
And it's a really good example of the triathlon of equestrian. You know, it's a really good example of eventing. Some horses will be better in one phase than another. We often cherish that when we see poor dressage tests and we say, well, that's a horse to save for the show jumping, or that's a horse to save for the cross country. This horse has it the other way around. He's very, very strong in the first phase, but he can pick up time penalties here.
Yeah, I think so as well. And a lot of the time as well, you see the riders have also weaknesses and strengths, and I think it's what makes the sport so exciting and so difficult, is to be good at everything.
Well, here's a man with a lot of strengths, and we've been waiting for him to put everything together on one day. All across the Event Rider Masters for 2 series, he's been the one who's done it.
Well, Bill Levitt just has the last to go. He is on that score of 41. He clears the final fence. He pushes on through the finish. We'll wait to get a time for him officially confirmed. But Bill Levitt safely home with a good clear round. So this reverse order cross country, Elizabeth Halliday Sharp in 4th after show jumping on that score of 40.3.
Dan, what's the stats on this horse? I mean, I think I've seen it a couple of times around, and it's always been a very good horse.
Can I hold that thought for just a second, Ludwig? Because it has been confirmed that Tim Price is the second person inside the time. He's gone to the top of the podium, and he's put himself in a very strong position for the series podium as well.
That is an unbelievable result, not just for today, because the Prices will be pleased with today, no doubt. But actually, when you think that 9-year-old is coming through to join a very, very strong string, 2018 from a World Games point of view is beginning to get interesting. 2018 from an Event Rider Masters point of view gets very interesting. What a strong string. Let's come back to that pair. We're back with Liz Halliday-Sharp. This is their 20th CIC 3-star. That's good level of experience.
Well, she looked to be slightly down on the clock there, but she's heading towards home, and we've seen a couple of combinations able to catch up on the time. So as things stand at the moment, Tim Price is out in front, 42.6, ahead of Graf Liberty on 43.4, then Gemma Tattersall, 45.2. This man, though, he's already been on the podium on a couple of occasions in 2017. It is Oliver Townend and Angela Hislop's Cooley Masterclass, 38.3, his starting score.
And he'll be definitely going for it, and he's quite exciting position for the final table down.
He's in an exciting position, but look, this is last year's champion. It's such a determined man. We'll come back to him, but he, as a rider, 51% of times this season he's been inside the time. That's the biggest in the field. Fernhill by night, Liz Halliday-Sharp, Ludwig. It's looking good.
Yeah, it's looking very good, but I think she's a little bit slow, but she'll be still quick enough to finish a top 10 finish, I would say, but she still is a little bit too far off the time to make it, but very good round for her so far.
Well, there's Tim Price taking Chris Burton quite literally off the top of the podium, and he'll go down into second as Gemma Tattersall takes the position up in third. So let's go and hear from the man currently sitting in the top spot. How long can he stay there? Can he stay on the podium? Tim is with Alice.
Don't try a fireman's lift on me, Tim. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, what a mare. She's never been that quick before, but it's just saying to Birdo that she's getting smoother. She's not going up in the air so much and making my job much easier. So what a mare.
Really excited owners here, the Sangsters, that are just a 9-year-old and her third CIC 3-star. I mean, she really is a star.
I'm starting to really come around to these mares. You know, I've had geldings most of my career, and this year I've taken a few on. Lucky me with Janelle, some of hers, and this is one of them. And they're very, very determined. You know, they just get the bit between their teeth. If you can channel it, then it's very handy.
You better watch closely, because there's some determined guys out there on course wanting to pop you off that post.
Well, a score just confirmed. Bill Levitt, Shannondale Titan, 6.4 time penalties, and he currently sits in fourth on 47.4. But Oliver Townend, Cooley Masterclass, coming to the St James's Place combination.
I mean, this is a very determined rider, and he must have amazing stats.
He has all the stats. He owns all the stats, I can tell you, whether it's experience, win rates, top 5 rates. He's true. Let's keep on this line.
Oh! Could you believe that? What is happening?
Well, Oliver Townend, 20 penalties, takes him out of contention for the podium. It means Tim Price has confirmed a position on the podium, and it takes Oliver Townend out of series contention.
Out of series contention, but it's not in Mark Todd's grasp anymore. It's going to boil down to Shane Rose now, because Mark Todd can't guarantee it now. Shane Rose's time penalties, and here is the man himself.
Well, Shane Rose, second after dressage, second after a flawless show jumping round, heads out on course. Now, this is a man who has won a 4-star on this horse at Winners of Adelaide over in Australia. Shane actually flies back to his native Australia on Wednesday. He won at Blair Castle just a few weeks ago. He's on sensational form, and how much would it mean to him to win here on his final run this season on British soil?
I think a lot. I mean, he's a very determined man, and absolutely. He is one that will definitely go for it. He's a very competitive guy, a very competitive rider, and a very competent rider. He has really got the chance to go up there in the lead. It's just a question of how fast he can be and how fast he can be. It'd be very exciting. What's the stats for the final leaderboard?
News just in that actually Oliver has retired out on course after those 20 penalties. That's fairly expected after that problem, but all eyes now on Shane Rose, because if he can go round clear inside the time, that puts the pressure on Izzy Taylor.
Absolutely. Izzy Taylor has been under pressure, and it was actually from Oliver Townend who put her under pressure last year at Gatcombe. But look, Shane Rose, Oliver Townend, when you've got those two behind you, Izzy is going to have to pull everything out of the bag. The big thing for me in terms of the series, Ludwig, is that Mark Todd is going to be, he can at worst finish in 11th position now. That will leave him on 85 points in the series. That means that Shane Rose is going to have to finish in the top 2.
So in other words, he needs to be clear, and in terms of the series, he can only afford to be 16 seconds over the time. But we know that while, yes, the series is in his mind, he's also after the huge first prize for the leg. Now, he is going for it, Ludwig.
Yeah, he's definitely going for it. But, I mean, it's like we saw Oliver. Who would have expected him to have a run out? No one. And, I mean, this is the thing. It's like you can ride very fast, but you also need to jump the jumps. And this is as exciting as it gets. It's like, what's going to happen?
I think you're getting worse than me. CB qualified is on course. Now look, did we get a read on that time from Zagreb? They had the same time penalties at Aachen. They were both 2 seconds over the time at Aachen. CP qualified a horse who has begun to make an impression on the European stage. Shane, hugely popular rider. Here we go. Ludwig, talk me through.
So he's going very good here. So he got a little bit of an extra stride there, but still the horse is going. Very good jumping. You can see it's an experienced horse. Really good riding.
Now, it was actually this first late crossing 12 months ago that ended his challenge here in the 2016 Event Rider Masters Series finale. But that is the lady who in just a few seconds' time we will all be focusing on. Izzy Taylor, Be Touchable. She's not had much luck in the Event Rider Masters Series so far. Can she top the podium here in 2017? She's due out on course in just a couple of moments' time, as Shane Rose is 1 second up on the clock at the St James's Place flower table at 12.
And I think we've seen Shane. He's picked every forward stride he could have picked. So, I mean, he's definitely going for the time. And now we see here. Oh! Again!
Well, Shane Rose is gone. 20 penalties. Mark Todd's going to be on the podium. Mark Todd is going to be on the podium now, series podium.
For the series podium, Sir Mark Todd will be in 3rd place. That is confirmed, but Shane Rose, what drama here in the final leg of the Event Rider Masters Series. And 20 penalties for him means that all eyes turn to this lady. It is either going to be Tim Price topping the podium, or it is going to be Izzy Taylor. Be Touchable is away on course, and this is a horse who is fast across the country.
This is an extremely fast horse. We have to bear in mind Izzy Taylor, one of the most experienced riders in the world. She's more votes than any female rider in 2017, apart from Oliver Townend. We just saw him have a problem. We saw Shane have a problem at the same fence. Yes, she's fast, Nicole, but she has to jump clear.
The one thing I can say, and she may not know this, she has 17 seconds in hand of Tim Price. But she won't necessarily know, unless news filtered back very quickly, that Shane had a problem out on course.
But we've been seeing, like, Bill was going fast, and he was 16 seconds over the time. So it is easy to pick up those time penalties. The time is so tough, and once you're starting letting the seconds slip away, they slip away so quickly.
So let's just take a look at the podium as it stands at the moment. Out in front, Tim Price, Ascona M, 42.6. Then it is Chris Burton, Graf Liberty, 43.4. Then it is Gemma Tattersall, Chicabella P, 45.2. Izzy Taylor on course. She is in the lead after the first 2 phases on 35.7. She can afford to be 17 seconds over the time to go ahead of Tim Price and secure the series finale here at Blenheim.
Look, Be Touchable does not need to worry about time penalties. 17 in hand or not, the key thing is that they need to get around with any jump-in faults. I've absolutely no reason to believe why they would. 10 CIC 3 stars. They have a 71% clear jumping rate. The key one for me though, they've just come off the back of a win at Mill Street. They were second at Campfire, just 1 second over. They were clear inside the time at Mill Street last year, clear inside the time at Harpery. Nicole, Shane Rose.
Well, Shane Rose heading towards home. Such a disappointing 20 penalties for him, but still continuing on and actually could still pick up a good position here despite that problem out on course. But Izzy Taylor comes to the Rowan Barbary combination at 8. We'll get a clock check for her as she comes down to the lake in just a moment. But so far, it's looking pretty healthy.
Yeah, she's looking very good, but it's I mean, it's that coffin. It's so difficult, and as soon as they get a little bit off the line, they're gone. So
this is a fence coming up that people have asked questions at already. Be touchable.
Come on, come on. Very good riding there.
Izzy Taylor has won 14 internationals in her career, and 7 of them have come in 2017. The rise of Izzy Taylor, and a lot of them will be going on into 2018.
Now, she needed to be jumping into the first lake crossing with 3 minutes and 50 left on the clock. She was there or thereabouts, so she's around the time that she needs to be to achieve that optimum time of 6 minutes and 44 seconds. We can get another check for her here, and actually 2 seconds up on the clock as things stand.
But as you say, Nicole, she doesn't need to be inside the time to win. She has those time penalties in hand.
But now it comes to the exciting part. Is she going to make it? Is she going to make it? Is she? Good jump in. Good so far. Very good riding. That was spot on.
Well, it's been the most influential fence on the course, but Izzy Taylor makes it look like child's play. Very easily done. And Be Touchable heads on now to the second lake crossing. And this is a horse, Ludwig, that's travelling very easily within himself. You can see how she is such a quick rider across the country.
Yeah, and she rides the horse so nice and balanced and positive. Like she is really the I don't know what to call her, but she's like Iron Woman nearly. She's fantastic.
Look, she got a huge amount of plaudits, and rightly so, for the Trevidden performance at Burley. But this is a horse, Be Touchable, who comes out top on a lot of the ratings in Britain. This is a horse that will go 4-star soon and looks to have everything in his locker to join it. What a string she will have next year. One thing that shouldn't go unnoticed as the excitement grows around Izzy Taylor coming to the finish is that Tim Price has ridden the 9-year-old Ascona M. He's going to be at least second here, and the key thing for me, he could win this. The 9-year-old mare, for whether it's Tim or Janelle who ride her next year, that's going to be hugely exciting for the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's a top-class horse. Both are top riders. I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation tonight for Tim.
I don't think it'll be that. I think it'll be a fairly short conversation, but it's amazing to see the string that they're building, and what a performance that was from the young mare. Back to Izzy Taylor, Be Touchable. This is a horse we've talked about all week. It's a horse we talked about in the dressage. They delivered in the show jumping, and they're on course to deliver in the final phase.
Well, Baby Burton is on the podium and enjoying his first taste of success. No doubt we'll see him there in the future, probably alongside a Price as well, as heading towards a home. Izzy Taylor, Be Touchable. Let's do a clock check for her here at the offset houses. Remember, she has 17 seconds in hand to go ahead of Tim Price. I don't think the time is going to be an issue here. In fact, she's there where she needs to be, but she needs to jump the fences clear.
Yeah, I think she's going to be very close, but she's definitely quick enough. But now she needs to jump the fences. I mean, I don't know. Like, is she going to make it?
She's going to make it. Think of all the series that we've had. Think of the excitement that we had at the end of the 2016 season. Think through all the podiums that we've had in 2017 as we got towards this finale moment. There's been all female podiums. There's been all male podiums. We were in Wiesbaden when Treason won. Gemma, and quick look in the first one. Upsilon, we've had stars being born in the Event Rider Masters, and this is Be Touchable's time. Izzy Taylor is coming towards the end. Will she be a new winner?
Well, she's got to jump clear, but Izzy Taylor, Be Touchable, riding her luck at the final part of the combination. Quick check of the watch. She's going to be skirting with the optimum time, but she doesn't need to make the optimum time. She can afford to be a couple of seconds over. Izzy Taylor has secured her first ever podium finish in the Event Rider Masters series. Tim Price will be second, Chris Burton third, but I have to say, the stats, they were all over that one.
Well, we wanted Izzy Taylor from the start. We knew she would be good in the first phase. We knew she would show jump clear, and we knew she would be clear in the cross-country jumping. They've done it. Izzy Taylor, a new winner of the Event Rider Masters. It's taken until leg 13. Two series it's taken, but at the end she's done it, and that's a horse to keep an eye on. That's a horse to write down. Be Touchable.
So Izzy Taylor has secured the title here at the series finale, but it is all about the series as well. We'll come to that very shortly. She's going to be met by her team down there at the warm-up, and she will be checked out by the Super Grooms, and you can vote for your Super Groom. Use the hashtag ERM Super Groom. They will be very quickly on hand to look after Be Touchable, owned by Sophie Dodds, and they'll make sure that he gets all the attention he needs. Izzy Taylor, meanwhile, will be hot-footing it to the podium. But I have to say, Ludwig Svenestål in the studio with us. Ludwig, that was an action-packed top 10.
I mean, who could have believed it? Who would have thought that Oliver would have a run out there? CP qualified have a run out there. I mean, could we have a more exciting finish? Really, really top-class sport.
Look, the key one as well is that look at who was chasing her down. Think of the pressure that puts Izzy Taylor under. She's not going to feel the pressure. She's one of the most experienced riders out there. But Tim Price, Shane Rose, Oliver Townend, Mark Todd, they were all ahead of her to go.
Yeah.
It all played a role in the series. It all played a role in the leg, and she delivered. I think it's a brilliant performance on a brilliant horse.
Without a doubt. I mean, I think we need to call her Iron Woman now. But I think she has always been an amazing rider, and it's been a true performance all the way through from her. Like from the start of the dressage to the jumping to the crunk. She's done her job, and she couldn't have done it better in my eyes.
This season, she's up to 8 international wins. She had 7 in her whole career up until 2017. She's already surpassed that in 1 year. Her entire career of international wins, she's now got 8. What a year she's having. I know she won't want it to end.
But for me, I think that was the style in which she did it, because she was easily, comfortably out in front after the dressage, a flawless clear show jumping round, and then easily not clear inside the time across the country, but only a couple of seconds over, and she can afford them, Ludwig.
Yeah, and she that's what I think as well. Like, she did a well-judged round. It was, perfect riding. She gave the horse a very good time all the way through. And to be honest with you, I think if she wouldn't have known that what happened before, I think she would have been inside the time.
Well, what an afternoon of action we have had here at the series finale of the Event Rider Masters. We hope that you've enjoyed it as much as we have, because it has certainly been full of plenty of drama. Ludwig Svenestål and Derb Byrne in the studio with me. Dan, we've talked a lot about the stats, and we've talked a lot about them all series, actually, but they have come through. Equi ratings have been right. Everybody loves it when Equi ratings are right.
Thank God. Nobody will remember it, though. Everyone will continue to talk about the time we were wrong with Don Janiro and Bramham, no doubt. But at last, I will have something to tell them. I'll say, remember Izzy Taylor and Be Touchable. Look, it wasn't a hard one for us to pick. She has been an absolute star in 2017, but as a rider and a horse, they've continued that here. It wasn't against the stats. The big ones against the stats, of course, you pointed them out. Who would have thought Oliver Townend, Cooley Masterclass, would pick up that 20 penalties? That was very expensive, and same for Shane Rose. We talked about how expensive it was for Gemma last year. That's cost them places on the series podium. It's cost them valuable prize money.
And Ludwig, from a rider's perspective, the reverse order, riders go out with a lot of pressure, and that's what breeds mistakes. And we saw that with Shane, we saw it with Oliver as well, and it proves expensive.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, remember, it's a very tough course. We saw a lot of clears in the end, and it's easy to think, the course is easy, but this is a very, very tough track, and that's what we see, that an easy mistake of you lose your line a little bit and you're gone. And that's what we saw, that how tough and demanding this track is. And I think that's important to remember. This is not an easy track. It's the best horses, the best riders in the world. And we've seen a field that you would never see really in any other show. And that's what makes this so exciting. And it's easy to think that it's easy. This is as difficult as it gets.
And it proves exciting, actually, because you've mentioned Izzy's very good form this year. If she targets the series again in 2018...
For me, forget the boys. Get rid of them out of the series, because you're going to have to go with Janelle Price and all her string. You're going to have to go with Gemma Tattersall and all of hers. And then you got Izzy Taylor and all of hers. Between the three of those, I think you could write the check now. That's the series podium 2018. I called it now.
Well, we'll be looking forward to 2018, but 2017 has been an absolute treat. The final podium. Well, let's go and take a look, because Tim Price is on the top spot for a moment. He won't be there for much longer. Alice, over to you.
Oh my goodness. Just have a little look behind us, because the crowds are literally 20 deep behind us to come to this podium. They have been, you've been amazing, guys. You've been amazing. We've had such an enthusiastic crowd here, and they are come 6 deep to welcome the star of this weekend. And Izzy Taylor, what an incredible performance. But we've got to have a quick word with the beaten ones, haven't we? And in third place, Chris Burton. Great to see you back on another podium. You were so fantastic at Blair, and another great performance.
Yeah, fun to be here. Thank you very much. What a great class.
You put it up to them, but just not quite good enough. What are you going to do to be in that spot next year?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, look, it's the Sam and I were talking this morning when we were watching the dressage and the show jumping. The quality is so good, the standard is so high, isn't it? And what a great thing that is for the sport. And
you've certainly showcased yourself to the selectors for the World Games next year.
Well, hopefully, yeah, let's hope they were watching.
I'm sure they were. Oh, Tim, so close. A slightly unsportsmanlike gesture at one point.
You were egging me on. You're encouraging it. No, I'm happy to be here, and what a mare, as I said before. But to echo Birdo, you know, what it's doing for the sport and how it's bolstering the standard. We've got to beat these guys on a regular basis like this. It's great fun, and it's always such a good achievement to be up here at the end.
Now, the big talking point, obviously, for the last 9 months has been the new baby price. Now the big talking point is, how are you going to keep the ride on this gorgeous horse come next year? Now, Derm says he thinks it's going to be a short conversation. Give us your take.
Shall I say the suggestion by yourself, which is get Janelle pregnant again? We've got winter to work on that, don't worry. But no, we'll just have to see through. This is Janelle's horse, it's my job, and it's a pleasure to give her back a horse that I have hopefully improved and haven't damaged. So there we go.
A pleasure to give the horse back. Not sure you pulled that one off, but listen, a fantastic performance, a real credit, and what a lovely horse. Well done.
She's super, thank you.
We're waiting for Izzy Taylor to come down to the podium, and the crowd will certainly be enjoying all of the action. Tim Price enjoying that top spot for a little bit longer, but Izzy Taylor will be taking the £16,000 first prize here at the series finale of the Event Rider Masters. So Derm will be looking forward to welcoming Izzy, but she should be really proud of that performance.
Ah, yeah, wonderful performance. Not just today. You know, when you think about what went on in the first phase, think about the pressure in the dressage arena. Be Touchable has done it in every phase and deserves to be atop the podium today.
Well, we can now actually go back down to the podium, because Izzy Taylor, I have no doubt about it, is going to take great pleasure in knocking Tim Price. He might take a bit of moving.
Tim. Izzy, what a performance from start to finish.
Yeah, he was mega in all 3 phases. Obviously the pressure was on this afternoon to go clear. I heard on the way round that I had a bit of time in hand, but with him you have to go and you have to mean it, and he finished and he was fantastic.
But to lead the dressage, to put in the sort of show jumping round that you did today, sorry, you were going around there that fast and you heard that you had time. Who did you hear it from?
Tuned in.
Was there ever a moment, because that coffin's been causing a lot of trouble?
He was fantastic through the coffin. We then were really rubbish through the houses at the end. But he's one of those horses that has to be concentrating absolutely every second of the way, and if he's not, you have to be. So, yeah, we were okay, thankfully.
Izzy, listen, you've had the most extraordinary year. This is your 8th international win. Can you put a finger on why things have gone so well?
I don't know why this year. The hard work is paying off, which is fantastic. We've got a super team of horses, people, owners, sponsors, everything, and it's coming together, so it's really exciting for everyone.
Well, no one works harder. Izzy, congratulations. You are the final leg winner for the 2017 ERM series. Well done.
Thank you.
Well, what a feeling that must be. Izzy Taylor takes the series finale here at the 2017 Event Rider Masters. And she is ahead of 2 very, very competitive gentlemen. Tim Price in 2nd and Chris Burton in 3rd. So let's take a look at the full results. You can see her, the British flag at the top of the leaderboard, out in front. Probably one of the biggest winning margins we've nearly seen in the Event Rider Masters series. Way ahead of Tim Price. Gemma Tattersall, another very good finish for her in fourth. Bill Levitt, his highest place Event Rider Masters finish this season as well, with Shannondale Titan. And a little bit further round, just outside the top 10, a super round across the country, Ros Cantor and Zen Shearer. Alex Watian, Don Janeiro, winners last year, wasn't meant to be in 2017, but Andrew Nicholson, Jet Set, currently sitting just behind Alex inside the top 15. So a little bit further down, Shane Rose, CP qualified. Heartbreak for him across the country. Those 20 penalties taking him out of contention of not only the leg, but also the series podium as well. And that was a really dramatic period out on course. Sammy Croidarco BB, a good round across the country for them, but drama as Cooley Masterclass, Oliver Townend choosing to retire out on course because of those 20 penalties. And of course, falls for Blythe Tate, Will Furlong and Pippa Funnell, but all happy to say up on their feet. And I'm sure we'll see them all out on another occasion. So that is how things stand at the series finale. But we're going to head back down to the podium for the official prize giving.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Ssangyong Blenheim Palace International Horse Trials for the prize giving of the finale of the 2017 Event Rider Masters. His Grace, the Duke of Marlborough, our host here at Blenheim Palace, and a big thank you to him, will now present our third place finisher. Riding Graf Liberty, owned by the Graf Liberty Syndicate, representing Australia, Chris Burton. They receive prize money of £8,000, a rosette and a magnum of Paul Roger champagne. And now Her Grace the Duchess of Marlborough will present you the second place finisher, riding Ascona M, owned by Lucy Sangster, John and Susan Hawkin and Peter Vella, Tim Price. Tim receives the prize money of £12,000, a rosette and a magnum of Paul Roger champagne. And now His Grace the Duke of Marlborough will present to the winner of the Event Rider Masters Leg 6 here at Blenheim Palace. Riding Be Touchable, owned by Sophie Dodds, representing Great Britain, it is Izzy Taylor. They receive prize money of £16,000, a rosette and a magnum of Paul Roger champagne. And now Bill Levitt, representing the Monarch Horse Sales, will present the Event Horse Owners Association trophy and a 2-night stay in the Monarch Hotel in Ireland, compliments of the Monarch Elite Event Horse Sale. Congratulations!
Well, what a weekend it has been. The 2017 series finale has not been a disappointment at all, but it has concluded as well the series for 2017. Gemma Tattersall had the series wrapped up at Blair Castle, but actually a fourth place finish here would not have done her points count any harm at all. And 108 points. She was well clear of second place Sarah Cohen, but a good finish here. So Mark Todd actually secures that third podium spot. Brilliant to see top two British ladies just ahead of Mark Todd, who this year has come back to serious form in the Event Rider Masters series. But let's go back to the podium for one of my favourite bits in the Event Rider Masters series. It is the champagne spray, and it tops off an incredible weekend here of the series finale. We hope that you've enjoyed all of the coverage. Don't forget, you can come back for the series prize giving. It will all be streamed live, eventridermasters.tv from 6 o'clock. So we hope you can join us for the series prize giving. But the champagne shower is over, and the 2017 Event Rider Masters series is over as well. We hope you've enjoyed all of the coverage. You can catch up again online, eventridermasters.tv. Watch the highlights packages as well, and we hope you've enjoyed all of the coverage, all of the action as we have. We'll look forward to seeing you again on the series prize giving at 6 o'clock, but also in 2018.
so close to my heart.